Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Music Mondays podcast. How are we all doing? I hope we're well. I hope we're chilling. Happy motherfucking Monday. So, um, yeah, today is a really special day, episode 110. And we are going to get cracking, my friends. Couple things to discuss this week. And then we'll get right into reactions and whatnot. Mark, what's good? Hope you're well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm your host, Zom Slays, and this is the Music Mondays podcast, episode 110. Today is February 27th, and like I said, I hope you're all well. I hope you all are chilling. So let's talk about what's going down in Music Mondays and what happened over the last week or so. So, episode 109 of the Music Mondays podcast is available on all platforms, including audio platforms, our YouTube as well. Huge shout out to anybody that's streaming us on Anchor, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. Huge shout out to you guys, man. You guys are really, really killing it, and we see you and we appreciate you. So thank you for that. Ryuki, what's good? I hope you're well. Welcome, welcome, welcome on in, my friend. So yeah, episode 109 is available on all platforms, like I said, including YouTube. So huge shout out to everybody that submitted last week, everybody that came through, showed love, everybody that showed love on the YouTube drop. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Behind the Merch, episode 1 is available right now on our YouTube channel as well. Behind the Merch is our brand new YouTube segment where we sit down one-on-one with artists. We basically unbox their merch. Really a simple concept, but a concept that I felt was really needed, because not a lot of artists get the recognition they deserve for a lot of the merch that they put out, right? So behind the merch is essentially just a way to show off some of the merch drops that artists do that might be missed over, people miss. It happens so much that there's plenty of room for everybody. So behind the merch is going to become a monthly segment, and episode 1 with King Mark is available right now on the channel. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you go check that out and go show Mark some love. It's definitely one of our more shorter segments as opposed to like the podcast or Feature Friday, Workshop Wednesday, the breakdown. A much shorter version. So definitely go check that out. Really, really good stuff there. And we're gonna try to get one of those out every month. So be out on the lookout for that. TDG, what's good? I hope you're well. Damn, I'm pumped. Let's get it, baby. It is Monday and we are rolling. So, let's continue on. Let's talk YouTube. A brand new YouTube upload is available right now on the Music Mondays YouTube channel. It's essentially our winter 2023 preview. We have about like a month or so until spring. So the winter 2023 preview is meant to give you a scope on what's going down at Music Mondays for the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months. Just a little preview of things to come. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you go check that out. And huge shout out to everybody that's been subbing to the Music Mondays YouTube channel as well. I think we're at like 117 subs now. So huge shout out to all the new subs, all the regular subs, and everybody else that's been showing love, man, because that's like really, really important. Because you guys know I push the fucking channel so hard on the show. Just because that's where you can find everything, right? This is like not only a live podcast, but we're also making an archive of all of these things. So very important that everybody knows that the YouTube archive is there. So huge shout out to everybody that has been showing love, man, for real. But yeah, the winter 2023 preview is available right now. So make sure you go check that out and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you. We see you. Couple more updates, and then we're going to have a quick discussion about a topic that I think is pretty relevant right now. I have a bunch of stuff that we could talk about, but this is definitely one that's pretty new. So this will be interesting. But let's sip some caffeine and we'll continue with our updates. Um, a brand new article is available right now on the Music Mondays homepage by Lord Heretic. Heretic reviewed Fury and Michael Jones' brand new project SOS. And Heretic's reviews are getting really, really fucking solid. Like really solid, especially for somebody that wasn't like set out to be a writer. Like Heretic is an artist first, right? But writing is just something that he wanted to do on the side that he really enjoyed. And this is Heretic's second article, and you just need to go check it out because it's exactly what you'd want a review to be. It cuts out a lot of the bullshit and it just goes track by track, and Heretic kind of gives some genuine thoughts about the whole project. And the last review that Heretic did was in the same fashion, so you definitely need to go check those out. 100%. Some classics right there. Some fucking classics. So, huge shout out to Fury, Michael, and Heretic. Go check out allmusicmondays.com if you missed that. A brand new freestyle design is available on all of our social medias by none other than Conbini. Freestyle designs, you'll see us post usually monthly or bi-weekly. It's just a way for us to show love to our designers while they get a chance to do some work for Music Mondays that they might have a vision of, right? Because sometimes we need specific graphics, and the freestyle design is more of a way for designers to showcase their talents in any way um, that they want to, using Music Mondays assets and logos and things like that. So a new freestyle design by Conbini is live right now on our socials. So go check that out. Make sure you follow us on our socials at All Music Mondays. Um, so that leaves us to Sunday, which was yesterday. SoundCloud Sunday, Volume 71 is available right now on our SoundCloud, curated by me and our staff curator, Depressed. Um, this playlist is 100% the best playlist on SoundCloud. It took a while to pretty much like claim that throne, but there is no other playlist that is as consistent. Um, so with that said, if you haven't heard of SoundCloud Sunday and you're interested in submitting for SoundCloud Sunday, you're like, yo, how the fuck do I get involved? Submissions open every Wednesday, and make sure you follow Music Mondays on SoundCloud, because you'll be able to stay up to date with if submissions are open, things like that, yada yada yada. But about 90% of the time, submissions are open. So definitely keep that in mind. Definitely keep that in mind. But SoundCloud Sunday Volume 71 is available on our SoundCloud. Usually we like to keep them about an hour long or so, just to be like a really like consumable playlist. Somebody's going to the gym, they're cleaning the crib, yada yada yada. Or even you're just an artist that needs a mix. You know what I mean? That's the playlist for you, 100%. So huge shout out to everybody that submitted for Volume 71. So, one last thing that we sort of spoke about a bit yesterday. If you didn't see on our socials, we dropped a brand new a recruiting flyer. So recruiting is open again for Music Mondays. We are on the hunt for writers, curators, designers, content creators, independent underground enthusiasts. You don't necessarily need to have experience in this space, but you got to have a lot of passion for the underground. It'd be preferred if you were already a creator, but if you're not, that's also not necessary. Just be passionate about the scene. Realistically, we're pretty open to speaking with people about joining the team. So if that's something you're interested in, and we're already talking to quite a few people actually. I have to get back to a few people that messaged Music Mondays tonight actually. So if you're interested in joining the staff team for any of those positions, you're a writer, curator, a designer, a content creator, you want to do YouTube, things like that, feel free to send myself a message or the Music Mondays account. Or if you're if you're really good with it, you'll send us an email with your portfolio and things like that. But either way, just get in contact with us, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you. So um, just be aware that recruiting is open. So keep that in mind, my friends. Keep that in mind. So here we are, Monday, February 27th, and we're chilling. We're live here on the Music Mondays podcast. We have some reactions to get into. But before we get into that, I have a conversation that we're gonna have, and then we're going to talk about what's coming. So March is in, I think, literally March 1st is Wednesday. So the top of March, you guys know the drill. New feature Fridays, new breakdowns, in case you missed it, monthly February edition. A whole lot of our brand new monthly segments will be rolling out at the beginning of March. Staff Design Showcase. We're starting a couple new YouTube series as well. Look out for Behind the Merch episode 2. We're looking to bring some more guests on the show and get some more written interviews out with some fairly familiar names. So definitely keep your eyes peeled. But the start of March, we're going to start firing off a lot of content. And we have a couple ideas for our next event and things like that. We're still ironing out a couple details and as well as building up the staff. So when we sort of have some concrete plans, the community will know. But relatively soon, we'll be building up another sort of bigger event. But as we roll into March, the usual. We'll have our monthly segments, our weekly segments, things like that. And like I said, we're focusing on recruiting right now and really just continue to drop as much content as we can. So make sure you're following us on socials at All Music Mondays, or go visit the homepage. So I usually update you guys every week anyway. So not necessarily like we won't be talking about it as the weeks go on. So yeah, of course I'll keep you guys updated as well. But before we get into reactions, right? And before we get into some reviews here. So it's been a while since we've been able to have one of these conversations, right? I think the last time we had spoke, we have some one-off conversations here on the show. But as far as like a talking segment, it's been a minute. And one thing that sparked my thought the other day, and I kind of wanted to just touch on it because I see a lot of people like getting like really fucking confused with this. And what we're going to be talking about here is really essentially the difference between an internet career and an IRL career, right? Making moves in real life. You're going to shows, you're meeting promoters, you're doing the usual. And I see a lot of people get the idea of one or the other pretty skewed. And that's a big issue because a lot of people tend to put, their marbles in one basket. Now, the thing that I was thinking about is, throughout my time in the scene, right? I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen a lot of people make, really good choices for themselves, and I've seen a lot of people make a lot of shitty choices for themselves. And, sometimes it starts at that crossroad of whether, you don't know whether you should put your energy into IRL shit or online shit. And what do I mean by online and in real life? Well, the online career, right? You're building your library, you're dropping music all the time, you're networking with new people across the world, you're building your online presence, right? And then you have your IRL sort of career where you're doing shows, you're meeting promoters, you're meeting other IRL artists in your area, you're traveling, you're going to real studios, right? You're going to, studios that you go and book. You're not really a bedroom artist, things like that. And the thing is like everybody's path is completely different. So to hop on any like social media and try to like preach that like, being online is like the shit, or like being in real life is the shit. This online shit doesn't matter. Like, motherfucker, that's the thing. Like, you're already wrong because it's different for everybody. Like, there are hometown heroes and backpack rappers that do just fine in like every fucking city, and nobody's heard of them online whatsoever. And then there's people who are completely online, 400K monthly listeners, da 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 da, and completely doing their thing online. So like, you can't really like go out and say that one path is like fitting all of that. And the direction a lot of people need to be thinking is, okay, like I have some roots here in, say, Texas or whatever, right? I know some promoters, da 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 da, but I'm trying to build my online presence. All right, well, fuck all that then. If you know you got that unlocked, start putting a lot of your energy into online shit. And then say you're online, right? You're building your following, you're putting out music, you're doing da 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 da, you're doing interviews, and you're like, damn, how can I tap into like IRL shit? Get out there. You know what I mean? Get out there as much as you can. Attend shows, support other artists, go to real studios, go film shit, go do whatever you got to do out there to like get that like real life aspect of it. And once you kind of have one down, switch to the other, because you're like, okay, like I know what to do here, so I need to put more energy on this end of things. And I see people kind of get frustrated, they'll get frustrated with one or the other, and they'll be like, oh, fuck this online shit, oh, fuck this IRL shit, da da da. And it is very much a case by case basis. Like, it's not something that you can just throw on anybody and be like, okay, like, because not everybody can wear that jacket. Like, some people blow up overnight online, some people blow up just having a couple good shows in their hometown. Like, that's the thing with it. So like, any opportunity is usually a good opportunity. You know what I mean? And you got to recognize like where you're kind of getting some traction. And like, any traction is good traction, right? Like, smaller shows and things like that. Even if you're getting a little love at these smaller shows, that's good. That is amazing fucking start. So if you know you can build that like real life aspect of it, and then you go online and you're like, okay, I'm dropping music, I'm dropping visuals, I'm networking, I'm collabing, I'm interviewing, I'm doing the most online. That's how you kind of balance both of them out, and you're taking no shorts, and no stone is really left unturned, right? Because you're essentially still working with like all of your IRL shit, and you're still taking the time to be diligent with your online stuff. So that's the thing. You can get frustrated with one or the other, right? Because especially if you're like not where you want to be. This obviously isn't for the people that are comfortable with where they're at in their career. This is for the people that are looking to gain more traction. And, they lean into one or they lean into the other, and it kind of gets fucked up because, you know, they have this skewed mentality based off of A or B experience, when in reality, like, you just need to be taking everything. You need to take the good with the bad with the good, and take it all, and find what works for you. Because back to the original point, that's not a like one size fit all solution. Like, oh, the internet's trash. Like, go build IRL. Da da da. Yeah, sure, that's fine. You can go build IRL shit and be semi successful. But at the end of the day, you're gonna miss a lot of opportunities and boats if you ditch one. So in that case, you'd be ditching the online part of it, and you're missing new friends, new collabs, new, like, infinite amount of shit by not being online. And if you're just kind of focusing online, you kind of have the other aspect of it, like, okay, like, how do I get booked for shows? How can I get in those crews? How can I get, into my state's kind of underground scene, and da 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 da, whatever the case. So you kind of got to weigh that out, and not really like lean too hard into one, up until you're like, okay, like, this is how we can do this, and this is how we're going to do this. So essentially, that's the thing with that, don't get frustrated, because if there was a fucking handbook, everybody would do it. There's plenty of like tactics and tricks that people can help you with along the way, right? Like myself, that's what I do with management and things like that, and Music Mondays and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's a very case by case basis. It's so different for everybody. So that's why you can't leave any stones unturned at all. And both are equally as important. Like IRL shit is very important, and the online shit is very fucking important. So don't let anybody fucking tell you, I don't care who they are. Don't let anybody fucking tell you one matters more than the other. Especially in 2023, there's too much opportunity out here to ever lean into one of those like way too much. You know what I mean? So that's sort of my take on that. And like it's not necessarily like that simple, but that's really like how you break it down because everybody's different, right? Sometimes people are bedroom artists because they're fucking anxiety and da 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 da, and they suck talking to people. They're not a people person. They want to stay like that, and then there's those people that like are fucking technologically like they literally cannot work a computer. There's people out there like that too. So if you notice that kind of lacking, that's where you need to be working on. You know what I mean? You can't really like lie to yourself and say one matters more than the other. Because that's what you're doing. You'll be lying to yourself. That's really what it is. So yeah, fuck that shit. And like I said, at the end of the day, the point is, leave no stone unturned, man. Truly. Um, so yeah, a little bit of an important topic there, but that was just a little pit stop and really um many conversations we're gonna have in the coming weeks because I have a lot of great talking points. Um, but yeah, if you have any thoughts on that, definitely let me know. And this will probably be on YouTube as well, so definitely drop some comments. But interesting, very interesting, my friends, definitely. So we'll continue on, and what we'll do is we'll pop open our submissions for the week. So let's see what we got here. You guys know the drill. But if you're new here and you're like, holy shit, Zom Music Mondays, what are we doing here? How do we do this? How do I get on your show? You submit through Twitter, and they're always in the same format. Artists and creatives submissions are open for live reviews on Music Mondays, live on 2/27/23 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/Zom Plays, which is here and now. If you'd like to submit your music, artwork, fashion, or digital creations, drop your links and portfolios below. All art forms are welcome. Um, So, basically, yeah, same format every week. But for the most part, a lot of you know, contrary to our name, Music Mondays, we have reacted and reviewed pretty much everything here on the show, from visuals to instrumentals, vocals, of course, digital art, real art, graphic design, merchandise, you name it, we've literally reacted to it. And a lot of you know the reason behind that is because, the majority of underground artists really um have a multitude of talents. Like a lot of them are multi fucking talented. So some weeks they have instrumentals that they want to submit, or they mix a song, or they designed a cover, and maybe they wrote an article. You know what I mean? Poetry and things like that. So there's a lot of work to be recognized. So we make sure everybody has an equal chance here. So we do include everything as well during the show. But further than that, many of you know that we do not and will not ever charge for submissions here on the show. We don't charge for written articles. We don't charge for reviews, playlists, none of that. Especially nothing here on the live show. And even if we were to change our format and add paid versions of things, all of our free content will stay the same. We'll always have free content and will always be very accessible to every underground creative. So that will never change. Believe that. So with that said, um, all we ask is that you're following the Music Money's homepage on Twitter before you submit. So yeah, that is for a couple of reasons. It not only grows the Music Money's page and it helps spread our message, but it helps grow the community, right? And at the same time, it pays respect to everybody that does follow and submit and wait for their submissions to get reacted to every week. So that's very important. So that's all we do ask is that you're following the homepage before you submit. Submissions close a couple hours before the show. They'll usually close Monday. Um, just to basically get a head count of the show, see how many submissions that we have, things like that. So you have about a week to submit. So just keep that in mind. Submissions open every Tuesday. So if you're watching the show now on YouTube or you're watching the show on audio version, submissions are open right motherfucking now. So make sure you check our Twitter, check our Instagram, things like that. You'll be able to find links to all of that as well. But like I said, submissions close obviously on Monday, but a couple hours before the show, depending on how many submissions we do get, just to really get a head count and see how long the show's going to be. But outside of that, people always wonder, why do you curate on Twitter? Da 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 da. And we spoke a little bit about it. I think the other week, we spoke a little bit about Twitter and things like that. And Twitter helps us keep the show very much free flow. We don't have to open a million tabs. We don't have to go to email. We don't have to da 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 da. We don't have to do anything, right? Everything is essentially right here under a thread, which is really nice. And not a lot of social media platforms give you that kind of advantage, right? Unless we were to just pop open a fucking email. And even if we were to be doing that, we'd still be clicking on links and MP3s and all that type of shit, which is just really not good for a live show, especially for people that listen in audio version, right? We want to be efficient, and the best way to do that is to just have everybody kind of curate under one area. So that's why we do that. And then on top of growing the community and things like that, and really reuniting new and older underground artists under kind of one banner, so very important. But with that said, I hope everybody's ready. So we have a decent amount of submissions tonight. And we also got a few late submissions, so we'll see how we do down the line. But first up this week is the homie SLM. SLM has been killing it this year and literally pretty much destroyed the later half of 2022 as well. SLM is a really, really talented alternative artist, and I'm definitely excited to see what SLM has for us this week. SLM submitted a track titled Existential. Give Space EP 224. So that is out right now. Okay. So that was submitted on the 23rd as well. So last week we reviewed another track off of this EP. So this will be our second track that we've reviewed from this. So let's get into this. SLM Existential.
A tragedy if you feel, but you might laugh if you think. This time I'd be for real, it could just pass as you blink. It starts to get surreal and the persistence of memory does everything to better me. As time comes less ahead of me, some tragic shit been said to me. It had to be, but dead to me is everything that doesn't bring more bread or head to me. I'm just playing, but let it be. And let's just see if what's next could be the ecstasy that's best for me, or is eternal rest and sleep. Right now I journal, wasting time and breaths I can't keep, and I'm making time to take my time to make this shit too damn deep. And I'm sure it won't go how I plan it to be. Hard to imagine another planet could be the solution to make life handed to me. Seems so random to me. When my dreams host phantoms of peace, I remember why we can't come in peace since November or December. Or back in the spring, I lost count of the weeks. I lost out on something in another world where we never speak. A tragedy if you feel, but you might laugh if you think. It's time I'd be for real, it could just pass if you blink. It starts to get surreal and the persistence of memory does everything to better me. As time comes less ahead of me, some tragic shit been said to me. It had to be, but dead to me is everything that doesn't bring more bread or head to me. I'm just playing, but let it be. And let's just see if what's next could be the ecstasy that's best for me, or else it's eternal rest and sleep. Internal stress I keep drinking on. I think it's best we keep thinking on what was left behind. I lost the light, it cost too much to leave it on over time, and I don't think they read the signs, so I lost touch with the people want, which is fine. Nobody knows what I've been feeling unless they cross the line. It's best I don't speak my mind unless it might be the time we once again sit at a table over a drink. I hope I'm able to put it in ink. I wrote this message under a sun that was kinda pink. A tragedy if you feel, but you might laugh if you think.
Let's go. Bro, spitting frill. SLM fucking kills it, man. Literally kills it. This one's a bit different than last week, so we definitely have some things to touch on here. Let the beat right out. Well done. well fucking done. This might be my favorite project from SLM. Like so far, we've heard two tracks and they've all been fucking nutty. Okay, so the podcast is now tweeted out as well. So, but let's break this one down, man. So SLM, man, sheesh. All right. Um, we're gonna talk about three things. We're gonna talk about the instrumental. We're gonna talk about vocals. Talk about the overall theme of Existential. So, the instrumental, I love the kind of laid back vibe. I feel like this instrumental kind of reminds me of when we first started reacting to SLM and we started reviewing a lot of SLM's tracks and things like that. This is kind of like what inspired me to like, you know, realize that SLM had a really like nice knack for some like alternative kind of like bouncier cloud styles. Um, it has like a slight, you know, uh, boom bap kind of pattern with the drums, but sometimes they're even more like lo-fi than they are like kind of hip hop. Like they're very chill and laid back. So it's a very specific kind of sound. But as far as this instrumental goes, I really like the drop. I really, really like the drop. But the shining star's got to be the drum selection. I feel like the sound selection was really nice. The mel was great, but the sound selection here was like really over the top for me. Really, really pushed out. Like I said, the mix is good. Nothing clashing, too overbearing. Um, we've reacted to enough SLM tracks here now that we've kind of gotten used to SLM's mixing style, and you for the most part you can always expect a really crisp SLM mix, you know. So and the instrumental kind of keeps that space kind of ethereal vibe as well. So I think that's cool, especially when you consider last week's track and this track being off of the same EP. So instrumental solid. Um, let's talk vocals here. Vocals were interesting. Um, this one was kind of a slightly different style. This one definitely took like a more traditional hip hop approach, but it was still more in that like poetic, slightly like offbeat style that SLM really like just fucking really just excels at. It's just one of those really specific styles, like I always talk about, for SLM that SLM just does really well. But this one was slightly different. This one kind of brings a little bit more attitude as well. But again, like the writing is something that like you just can't ignore. Like the writing is just something you can't ignore. But I do feel like the split between the slight poetic style with like the more traditional kind of hip hop cadence and flow was a really good balance. It was a really good balance because this is a more kind of like I said, it has a bit more of like attitude, and I like that about this because last week's track was it wasn't like like soft or anything, but it was definitely more poetic, and this one kind of upped the ante a little bit. So that's how we can already tell that this EP is like slowly progressing, you know. Um, but as far as vocals go, this was stellar. Um, the mix was great, nothing clashing, too overbearing. Um, I would say Shining Star is definitely going to be writing, 100%. Definitely got to be writing for sure. SLM's writing, and flow and cadence got to be a close second as well. Just because of the delivery on it all, just really just puts it over the top. But the writing has just it's too hard to ignore. Like you can't ignore that writing, man. You can't. So instrumental great, vocals great. Let's talk theme here. I already spoke about this cover a bit last week, but aesthetically, like I said, I feel like this cover nails it, especially for like the space kind of like supernova vibe, with like this being like the moon or like Earth like way back here, right? And then fucking this is just like a crazy supernova, but it still has that like watercolor kind of style. Um, I think it's perfect. So the art really did this justice for sure, especially keeping like the space kind of like ethereal vibe. I think it did it justice 100%. So, you know, the overall theme here, SLM really touches on a few topics here, but I feel like SLM does a really good job at conveying feelings at the time, whether it's last week's track or this track. This EP, I'm getting a big vibe of like, um, really being like super honest about feelings, but some of the bars in here were they were like so clever, yet like, um they had like a bit of like spice and attitude, and like it was like, damn, okay. So there was a couple times where I was like, wow, this writing's definitely a bit more like in your face, and I like that, especially like if you're putting on some like variety here for this EP. Um, but it definitely stays in line with like what we've heard so far. So I'm definitely excited to continue to react to the rest of this, to be honest. So I hope SLM submits again next week. But with that said, huge shout out to SLM. Thank you so much for this submission, homie. Much, much motherfucking love. Make sure you follow SLM on SoundCloud. SLM is approaching 40 followers. SLM is 2 away, man. Go show SLM some love. And of course, make sure you follow SLM on Twitter. SLM is 1 follower away from 270. Only one. So go show SLM some love. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're approaching 120 subscribers. I think we're about 3 away, so make sure you go sub to the channel if we haven't already. And if you already have, thank you. We upload 2 times a week, full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. So make sure you go show the channel and these artists motherfucking love. Let's get it, baby. Excellent fucking way to kick off the show, per usual. Shocker. SLM fucking destroying it. Let's get it, baby. Up next we have Lil Caesar. It's so faded. I responded without my link. I remember seeing that. Lil Caesar submitted a track and just said a caption and didn't drop the link. And they obviously realized that because their caption. So faded. I responded without my link. Yes, indeed. But with that said, Lil Caesar has a great production style. Really, it's so specific, but really always goes to like the darker side of hip hop, and really kind of has its own lane. Lil Caesar definitely has a really unique style, but this week they submitted "Sorry I Couldn't Wait on the Ground." So we're popping this open in a new tab. We're pausing it. We're looking. Oh man, yeah, this is tough. Holy shit. Whoever did this art went crazy. This is super tough. Yeah, nah, like, the little things really make this. For sure. Sorry I couldn't wait on the ground. Part 5. Mix and master by me. Oh, shout out. Oh, let's go. Cover art creds in the description. Okay. It brings a lot of nostalgia out into my good work, fam. Alright, bet. Lil Caesar, sorry I couldn't wait on the ground. Drop's gonna be crazy. Structure is perfect, man. Especially for instrumentals, like you guys already know what I'm about to say, for real. Like, no cap. Beautiful. That clock in at 308, 306. Well done. I love it, man. I love instrumentals like this so much. Like, really put on for fucking real producers, man. I was just talking to one of my artists about this today, dude. Like, this is what I like to see prods doing. This is what I like to see. So, you guys know the drill. Let's break this down. We're talking about two things here. No vocals, so we're talking about the instrumental, talk about the overall theme of Sorry I Couldn't Wait on the Ground. So, what a fucking instrumental this is. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. This is like everything like you're supposed to be doing as a producer. And not like supposed to be doing, but like this is like a producer that treats himself like an artist, right? Much like many of the producers that we've seen here on the show, the Thomas Marcuses, the Kales, the Absolos, so many other producers that continue to put out their own instrumentals, their own projects, their own kind of sounds and themes and shit that they like to do. You know what I mean? Not be obsessed with the producer discourse and the other bullshit like this. This is the shit. So, like I said, we're gonna talk about two things. Talk about the instrumental, talk about the overall theme. Sorry, I couldn't wait on the ground. So the instrumental, let's just start off by saying the mix is A1. Very crisp, nothing clashing too overbearing. The mix, for again, Little Caesar, we've kind of, gotten enough sampling as to where we know that we're gonna get a pretty crisp mix when it comes to Little Caesar. So not really a shocker there when it comes to that. But the drum selection was really great. I love, 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 love the 808 choice. Even some of the slight drum mixing is like really insane. That's why I put my other headphone in. I was like, wait a second, there's some crazy shit going on here. But yeah, like I said, the drum selection was really, really on point. But the thing that put it over the top for me though was the structure. It's not your typical song layout structure, and it's not repetitive whatsoever, right? So that's like the number one mistake that a lot of producers do when they put out instrumental projects, they put out instrumental singles, all that sort of shit, is they don't like they'll put out beats they made for an artist or beats in like a weird fucking like DJ kind of like DJ structure that doesn't really fit for a listener, right? Because if you like, because as a producer myself, like this is like the important shit with this is if you're making beats for an artist, that's fine, and if you're making beats as just an instrumental, right? You're gonna put on an instrumental album, whatever. I think the line kind of resides as to where like you want to combine the two. You know what I mean? And that'll affect your structure. So you'll start doing, longer hooks. You'll start doing different ways of structuring your drums. You'll start building up more. You'll start building down more. There are like really simple things that you could do with your instrumentals that like make them so much more palatable for um people that do enjoy listening to instrumentals, right? Because if you're making an instrumental album, obviously sometimes they're going to be structured differently, and you can like listen to them more without them being repetitive, right? Because sometimes if you take a beat that you were going to make for an artist, that shit can get a little repetitive. You know what I mean? Because there's no vocals on it, so it's like, okay, it's like this is obviously a beat made for X, Y, or Z. But if you genuinely like craft an instrumental, you take some shit out that that you normally wouldn't do for an artist, or you add some shit or whatever. Um, that's what really puts it over the edge. So back to the point, um, that's what the structure is here. It's a really solid, nice, simple structure, but it extends it being an instrumental, and it exaggerates all the nice parts that producers usually have to skip um, when they work with an artist, which is fine because you need space for the vocals and shit like that. But sometimes when you put out instrumentals like this, you kind of have a bit more free reign, obviously. So, structure is usually the shining star here for me. Like the structure is just it does it, 100%, without a doubt. So, the instrumental solid, very solid. Let's talk theme here. So this cover was crazy. Aesthetically, it definitely nails it. The artist who did the art commented, this one brings a lot of nostalgia. I don't know why, and it kind of does. Like it brings that like um it just brings that overall like classical underground feel, but it feels newer. It feels much more um modern, and it feels like it's pushing a new direction, right? It's not like a tight beat or anything like that. Even though I do feel like the tags kind of nail it too, right? Melodic trap, melodic hip hop, emo trap, vaporwave. Yeah, it totally brings that kind of like classic um nostalgic vibe, and I do feel like the art is a big contributor to that. So I feel like the art like totally nailed it. 100%. 100% perfect. Sorry I couldn't wait on the ground. The overall kind of theme here, it definitely brings that darker hip hop kind of vibe. So sorry I couldn't wait on the ground is a perfect name for this. And that's the other thing about releasing instrumentals is like you kind of have free reign with the song titles and shit like that. So a lot of the time song titles are just what a producer's feeling at the time. Could be like an ode to something. It could be shouting out something. There's like a couple of different ways that producers do that, and I feel like "Sorry I Couldn't Wait on the Ground" was like perfect for this. Definitely gives me that dark hip hop nighttime kind of vibe for sure. So the theme is on point here, 100%. So with that said, a huge shout out to Little Caesar. Thank you so much for the submission, my friend. Make sure you follow Little Caesar on SoundCloud. They are 6 motherfucking followers away from 270. Go show Little Caesar some love. And of course, make sure you follow Little Caesar on Twitter. They are 2 away from 450. Also a great milestone on Twitter. Go show Little Caesar some love. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're approaching 120 subaroonies. And if you've already subbed to the channel, thank you. We appreciate you, and we see you. We upload 2 times a week, full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. So go show these artists and the channel some love. So, my friends, let's fucking get it. We are well underway into episode 110. So, up next, we have the homie, Cole Girard. Now, Cole's been killing it in 2023. Again, another really good genre blender. Cole has done a lot over the last couple of months that we've heard, really pushing styles and really pushing ceilings. But this week, Cole submitted Cavities from his new project. OMV premieres Monday to 27. Oh, shit. So we got the music video premiering today as we speak here live. All right, bet. Let's get it. Okay, so Cole submitted Cavities. Let's pop this open a new tab. Check it out. Let's get it, Cole. Yeah, so this is off of Cole and Hidden's brand new project, Circuit. And let's get into it. 201, so not bad. Okay. Let's see what Cole got for us this week. Cole Girard, Cavities. Let's go.
Sunrise, catch shade, wanna be as catching rays, now I'm catching rays. I some love and some, welcome to that shit away. Could've been a problem, but it's all fucking same. Make me feel fucking weak, praying for love, good one is fucking weak. That's them, not me, that's just 2 minutes for me. That's one way, that's a trap, that's a fact. Open board, attack with hearts, I the trap. I don't wanna take it back, but so I'm giving more. Love is free, even off of me, go inside the door. I'm petty, I went home, took the candy off the porch. No sweets for me and homies, we got cavities. But my dogs on low, but my ops on mute, that's why I sound like me. Sometimes I sound like kid, but I miss that pack too. It's mostly me, just know I'm not a fool. Shot my sword, that's way how I want, but took me from I don't care, the nigga, I don't give a fuck, I'm a ripped off fashion, cut that shit and strip it, back it up and pay it, baby, make it nasty, ooh, like I'm out of man. Need to stop trying to change them and let them dip, let them trip. Fuck how I want, love how I want. I like smoking herb more than papers and blunts. I don't care, wait, nigga, I don't give a fuck. Earth day, sunrise, catch shade, wanna be there, catching rays, now I'm catching rays. That sounds like a summer, Muslims took that shit away. Open board, attack with hearts, I the trap. I don't wanna take it back, but so I'm giving more. Love is free, not for me, go inside the door. I'm petty, I went home, took the candy off the porch. No sweets for me and homies, we got cavities.
Dude, I'm so glad Cole is doing a video for this because holy shit. Um, I was thinking the whole time, I was like, dude, a video would be fucking tight for this. And yes, yes. Like 1,000% yes. Um, crazy all around. Let's fucking go. All right. So, you guys know the drill. Let's break this down. So, we're talking about 3 things. We're talking about the instrumental, or we're talking about vocals, talk about the overall theme of Cavities, which I actually, kind of an interesting theme here for sure. So this will be good. This will be good. So, let's talk the instrumental. So, executive produced by Hidden. This project has had a lot of bangers, if we're being honest. This project is filled with a lot of like hard hitting alternative trap styles, some kind of plug styles, and just kind of like bringing like a little bit of like a different edge to a lot of the sounds that people are familiar with. But this particular instrumental, um, I feel like this 808 really carried on the instrumental. I feel like the melody was a great foundation as well. But the thing that stuck with me, like on the first time listen, was this 808 and the way that Cole was able to write it. So I do feel like this 808 was like a really good choice. Um, so yeah, the drums got to be the shining star for me. And with that said, the mix is great too. Nothing clashing, too overbearing. Everything punches nicely, and it just kind of like speaks more to the 808 again. You know what I mean? Because the mix is like all that more crisp. So I do feel like the 808 like kind of carried as far as the instrumental goes. I like the choice a lot. Um, so yeah, the instrumental great. Let's talk vocals here. Cole really coming in on some like original Cole shit, really giving us some bars with like a nice melodic hook, kind of coming in really hot here. It's a great track for an album. I feel like this is a great, not like filler track, but it's one of those tracks that you could stick right in the middle, and it'd be like a hidden banger. And like for the people that like play your project all the way through for the first time, and they get to Cavities, it's like, oh shit, you know what I mean? It's one of those tracks. But I do feel like Cole did a really really good job on this hook. Um, and the overall delivery. So really, the delivery here was like a nice kind of like it didn't like improve Cole. Like I feel like it's just like a slight level up though. I feel like this track in particular lets Cole's kind of current sound shine a lot and really lets people know like where Cole's at right now, because I feel like this is like a top top tier Cole Gerard track if we're being honest. So the vocals on this were great, but more specifically the delivery, real confident, real like it just kind of like pushes the beat over the edge when Cole rides it, sort of like I was talking about with the 808. Like I feel like it was a nice kind of like combination for sure. Um, so the instrumental really stellar, the vocals definitely stellar. Um, let's talk theme here now. We've already spoke a little bit about the Circuit cover art. Um, Circuit's really one of those cover arts that's like overwhelmingly obvious a album cover because it'd be too lackluster to be a single cover, but it makes for a much better album cover just because it's simple enough, right? So I do feel like this is like the perfect kind of balance between like a project cover and like a single cover. So I do like this choice. Um, but the overall theme here with Cavities is like like the Halloween bar was great, and you just kind of like you like listen to this track, right, and you're you're just really appreciating Cole's lyrical ability and writing skill here, because again it's one of those tracks where you kind of have a simple phrase, a simple kind of idea, and you build upon it, right? You come up with bars, lyrics, punchlines, things like that that you'll be able to like relate to the track, but you're also just like almost just freely spitting, right? And I do feel like Cole kind of like kept on like the really nice common theme here, for sure. Really, again, it kind of like it's really typical to Cole's like writing skill, to take something like this and just kind of like create a bunch of bars around it and like continue to like push that kind of narrative throughout the whole track. And it clocks in at 201. So I do feel like Cole kind of like wasted like zero space on this track and really went to town because the beat was like way too hard to not fill in. So I feel like Cole really like let the writing shine here and just kind of like pushed this theme all the way through, and I like it. It came out nice. Came out nice for sure. So with that said, huge shout out to Cole Gerard. Make sure you go show Cole some love. Follow Cole on Spotify. And of course, make sure you follow Cole Gerard on Twitter. Cole is approaching 50 followers. Cole is 4 away. Go show Cole some love, motherfuckers. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube we upload. And huge shout out to anybody that's already subbed to the YouTube channel. We are 3 followers away from 120, so make sure you go sub to the Music Mondays YouTube channel. We upload 2 times a week, full podcast episodes, exclusive segments. A whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel, so if you haven't, go show the channel and these artists some love. Devil Killer, what's good? I hope you're well. Welcome to the motherfucking stream, my friend. I hope you're well. Happy Monday. So, we have started off the show really, really hot. Really 3 fucking bangers in a row, if we're being honest. So let's continue. Up next, we have the homie Blank Thought. And actually, Blank Thought is another producer that really is like much like Lil Caesar and a couple of other prods that I spoke about earlier in the show. Just really do a good job treating themselves like an artist and really pushing their side of work, and really just taking being a producer to like a whole nother level and really taking themselves serious. But Blank Thought really has one of my favorite prod styles right now, especially for the style that Blank Thought actually makes. So this week, Blank Thought submitted Coldest Weather. And I believe this is on Blank Thought's brand new project. So let's pop this open in a new tab. And me and Blank Thought actually are working on some stuff on the back end for Music Mondays. I'm sure you'll see a little bit of Blank Thought and Music Mondays in the future. So yes, My Life Flashed Before Me by Blank Thought. This is Blank Thought's brand new project. So, definitely went with like the more classical, like older style of cover art, which I really enjoy. I do feel like this cover fucking nailed it, and I love the amount of detail on it. But we'll give more thoughts as we listen to this track. So let's get into it. Blank Thought, Coldest Weather, let's go. 3:45.
yo. Yeah. Known as. Yo. Coldest memory is in the frozen grass. Tapping ash around the bogey that my homie passed. Lonely gags from the cast the world to grab a sense of breaking folds. Passing by the home, broken windows making holes. The snow crept in, the smell of rotten mess and piss from every inch. Dirty writing all across the wall with hidden messages. Approached the bed with broken stitches in the crevices. Missing evidence, I had to sip away my eminence. Ever since I locked away myself from all I ever did. Mistakes as I grow in mind, slowly burning over lines. Earning what they owe was mine, turning points ahead of time. It's blank thoughts, it's a plot with no God inside compartments that I go reside. And when they see the vision, tell them it was written with the mixed edition crossing up as I rewind. Used to ride the bus inside the coldest weather. Old apparel, darkened hoodie, white chased beside the home in terror. Black graffiti on the walls and was a rule with measures. The new endeavors had me moving, I was losing air. Confused my mood and barriers, I lost a clear perception. Without a breath and I was changing up from who I stepped in. I couldn't seek the definitions of my acts in question. Asked myself if it was all a phase that I was left in.
Jesus.
Yeah. I've been moving through phases like the moonlight, chewing through, invading my room like a blade is sliced through. High noon, turning face, I might shoot. Let me talk about it. I've been dying since 16. Sick fiend with a killer instinct, blowing shit's creek till my wrist bleed into cysteine. Feel my skin peel till the rib meat, ripping stick still creep. Wandering the walls of a cave with a ball and a chain till the moss separates and I fall in my grave. I'm a flaw in creation that all have forsaken. Thoughts penetrating, songs spark, detonating bombs. God said his grace is law, drug 7 bases off, fog, elevate the frost, Brock, weather breaking jaws, pop metal banging off, I'm never taking off. Used to walk the woods in the coldest weather, wonder whether or not I'll make it. My thoughts racing, trying to hide from my inner specters. In the storm drain, racing the clock, try save it. When mom angry, jumped the creek, keeping level headed. When I came home, wouldn't disclose my location. Old faces came around to apply pressure, but my soul got Kevlar plates, y'all won't break it.
Insane rage fist trickles down the gradient. The grave shift splits you like stubble when the razor hits. Makeshift candles kept the dorm lit. Horror flicks flooded in the dark, status morbid. Fainted over forfeits, never gave her orchids. Complacent in my orbit, maybe stray until the doors unhinge. Pace back and forth again, brain matter starts as thin. Hands frail like porcelain from where the days are staying in. Wool knitted sweaters kept me leveled in the coldest weather. Half measures start my course from a forceful tether. Empty pockets on the dresser before I gave it pleasure. Deeper breaths, tense pretender, yet we're not together. Under pressure over quells that I can't fix. I left hell, dipped my heels standing in the sticks. My worst pains are from within, so I took a sip. Burned away my soul and stayed numb ever since.
What the fuck? My god, bro. Dude, how is it possible that every blank fucking thought song is like that? Holy shit. That's cooked. Like, every blank thought track that we've reacted to recently has had the craziest fucking lyrics and, like, wow. The delivery on some of these tracks, man, is nutty. Is so nutty. Okay. Wow. All right. Let's break this down. So, we're talking about 3 things here. We're talking about the instrumental, we're talking about vocals, we're talking about the overall theme of Coldest Weather, which I actually like a lot. We'll talk about that in a second, though. So, man, the thing here, starting with this instrumental, the piano and the mel itself is fucking great. Might I say probably the shining star, to be honest with you. It is like, wow. It's like so definitive of this track, and it definitely is cold. Like, the fact that this track is called Coldest Weather definitely kind of like puts you in that kind of cold New England kind of vibe for sure. It definitely feels like some like real cold New England shit, like, because like the winters are like super brutal out here, and this instrumental is like that definition of that. It really is. It definitely brings that cold kind of like that feeling of like falling on the concrete in the cold for sure. Like falling on concrete's already like a bitch, but like when you fall on cold concrete, that's like the worst shit. And that's what this instrumental feels like. Um, so with that said, the Mel's definitely the shining star. The drums are stellar though. The mix is great. Nothing clashy too overbearing. Everything punches through really nicely. Um, Blank Thought really has such a unique style when it comes to this. It's so modern yet like kind of has that like lo-fi, slight like boom bap classical feel, but is way too modern to kind of like really call it any of those. It just kind of like takes slight elements from them all, and it really ends up being Blank Thought's like overall style, and it's only a slight part of it. It's such a unique kind of alternative style. It really is. The instrumental is great. So let's talk vocals here. The verses on this were fucking crazy. But I'll start off by saying the mix was excellent. A lot of the vocals here were like they weren't raw, but they didn't have like an extravagant kind of mix, which if you think about like um really like what this track was meant to be, it definitely didn't need like an over the top mix or anything like that. I feel like the mix was like just raw and like crisp enough to like keep where it currently is. So I feel like all three of these verses and like this whole kind of track together vocally really kind of like um is well rounded, to be honest, like because it's not like super raw like I said, but it definitely has like a more like raw approach to it, and it fits really well, especially like I mentioned with like the cold weather kind of deal. It really fucking pays homage to that for sure. But one thing here um that is kind of really obvious is the verses, and a lot of the writing throughout this whole track is totally like on point with the theme about cold weather, being in the cold, being left out in the cold. Like there are so many like punchlines about really breaking that down, and it just added to the whole kind of like cold winter kind of factor to this track. So I feel like this theme was like all around like it was really collective. It was like it really came together. It really fucking came together. So the vocals were stellar. The instrumental's great. Let's talk theme here. Now, I do still like this cover a lot, especially with Blank Thought's approach to projects. I feel like it's right on brand with like what we'd usually expect from Blank Thought, but it definitely brings that more like classical approach too. Like I said, you know what I mean. So it totally fits that vibe. Totally fits that vibe. Um, so aesthetically, this is great. I definitely want to dive into more tracks from this project, like for sure. Um, but the overall theme for Coldest Weather, like I said, it totally keeps on that whole like raw winter kind of feel for sure. It really keeps up with that vibe, and there aren't many tracks that will make you feel um familiar feelings like that. But this one is like the definition of like cold New England weather, especially down to like the bars and like, being outside and the cold hard ground and just like the whole winter vibe of this track is like so well rounded. So I feel like the theme was like really on point, like really, really fucking on point. And it probably just so happened to turn out like that naturally, to be honest with you. But it really hit the nail on the head for coldest weather, for sure. So with that said, huge shout out to Blank Thought. Make sure you follow Blank Thought on Bandcamp. And of course, make sure you follow Blank Thought on Twitter. Blank Thought is approaching 700 followers on motherfucking Twitter. Literally 8 away from 700. So that's a great milestone. Go show Blank Thought some love. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be motherfucking linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. Make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're approaching 120 subaroonies, so go show the main channel some love. And if you have, thank you. We appreciate it. I see you dropping likes, comments, all that good stuff. We upload 2 times a week, full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel, so if you haven't, go and do so. Let's get it, baby. So, nothing but fucking bangers. God damn it. You guys are literally destroying shit here, so okay. Okay. Um, let's continue here. Up next, we got the homie Lil Wet Wet, and I don't know what Wet Wet submitted this week. Pity Party Dubs. Okay. So it looks like it's our platform of choice. Bet. Of course, we're gonna pop open SoundCloud most definitely. And we'll see what we got here. 7 days ago, so super new. Literally brand new. Got the links down there. Pre-save. Lyrics and description. Okay. Let's get into it. Lil Wet Wet, Pity Party, Dubs.
Yeah. We been living so sweet and the picture connects. I ain't tell you what I did, you can tell me what's next. I'm reminding you to breathe, you're telling me I'm next. You're forgetting to eat, I'm forgetting to text. I've been manifest cheese, learning respect. I've been running till I bleed, running the set. Everything falls apart, talking out of sex. I'm neglecting my needs, don't know to rest. Let you into my space, you still feel like a guest. Still stuck with the keepsakes you put on my chest. I came back from the east, took a pill that was pressed. Shopping lights flash, you can't tell them pressed. Running shit, bottom still close to an X. I tell you that I'm wrong, you still follow the mess. But always say I'm on, still feel like I'm less. I can't let go, it's too hard to forget. Can't let go, can't let go, can't let go, can't let Dubs, we take dubs. Last summer, me and my dog, we drank mud. Last summer, you and our friends, you changed up. I can't keep faking the spark to make trust. Dubs, we take dubs. Last summer, me and my dog, we drank mud. Last summer, you and our friends, you changed up. Can't keep falling apart for fake love. We've been living so sweet and the picture connects. I can't tell you what I did and you can tell me what's next. I'm reminding you to breathe, you keep telling me I'm next. Keep forgetting to eat, I keep forgetting to text. I've been manifest cheese, I've been learning respect. I'm running till I bleed and running the set. Everything falls apart, then we talking out of sex. I'm neglecting my needs, I don't know how to rest. I let you into my space, you still feel like a guest. Still stuck with the keepsakes you put on my chest. I came back from the east, took a pill that was pressed. Shopping lights flash, you can't tell that I'm pressed. Running shit, bottom still close to an X. I tell you that I'm wrong, you still follow the mess. But always say I'm on, still feel like I'm less. I can't let go, too hard to forget.
Let's go. Holy shit. That was crazy. My lord. Okay. Holy shit. Wet coming with a fucking heat this week. Alright, man. Okay. Wow. Holy shit. So, much to discuss here. Produced by Homecoming Queen. Shout out Homecoming Queen. We've definitely reacted to those instrumentals before. Box by Wet Wet, art by Ollie Museum. Let's fucking go, man. Okay, so let's break this down. We're talking about three things here. We're gonna talk about the instrumental, we're gonna talk about vocals, and we're gonna talk about the overall theme of Pity Party Dubs. So, the instrumental is in a really interesting structure, and I am here for it. But let me just start off by saying the mix is great, nothing clashing to overbearing. Everything cuts through nicely. That's one thing that we've, again, grown to come to expect, is that Wet Wet is gonna have a really crisp mix. So no shocker there. Everything that we've heard has been really stellar in that regard. But yeah, this instrumental, like I was saying, the structure is really interesting. Really interesting. And I was talking about this like a few submissions ago. Yeah, sometimes producers will kind of switch up the structure and just kind of have like a different idea or style for like whatever they want to do, right? And this one I feel like Wet Wet really kind of took and ran with. And now this kind of came out really fire. Like it came out in such like an interesting way, because the intro was like, it comes in hot, but it's long. So the thing with this instrumental is the structure is like everything, and I love this structure, like for sure. So, Homecoming Queen definitely did a really, really good job. Everything we've heard from these two has been like 10 out of 10, truly. So again, kind of not surprising, but this instrumental structure is really, really satisfying. And it was just a pleasure to listen to, for sure. So the instrumental is very solid, very, very solid. Um, Now let's talk vocals here. Now we have lyrics in the description as well, which was amazing because not only do we get to like follow along and like fully like experience the lyrics, but we kind of get to step into Wet Wet's shoes and more so kind of dive into that whole a mindset when it comes to these lyrics. So I think this was like a nice touch here. But as far as vocals go, the mix was really interesting. Because we've seen Wet Wet kind of have a different, like a couple different styles of mixing, and whichever style you're seeing Wet Wet with, it's always going to be like very, very fucking crisp. That's the thing with this. It's really nice. But I think it put it over the edge when we had lyrics and description. So now we're kind of fully getting all the emotion. We're getting like everything here, despite a more extravagant kind of mix. So I think this was like perfect, like really, really perfect. The mix just kind of, it was so complimenting to this instrumental for sure. But this writing is definitely something that, because I'm torn between the writing and the cadence and flows, right? Because the delivery is also something that's like on my mind as well, as far as like the number one thing about this. But I like all three of them, like really, I don't know, because I feel like this this whole kind of like start is like insane, like really, really insane. I'm gonna say delivery is a shining star here for me because I feel like Wet Wet did a really good job, really projecting like the passion and really like making a first time listener kind of feel the emotion here. um so delivery was definitely a big deal here, but a close second has to be the writing because it's a very like it's a very um like it's an easy to understand style of writing, but it's so specifically intricate, and it really like the way it's written puts you in Wet Wet shoes like 100%, and it makes it really easy to understand where not only Wet Wet is coming from, but the story that we're reading here, um and really like what Wet Wet is feeling. So lyrics are a close second, but the whole delivery here was really nice, really, really nice. So delivery definitely shining star. Instrumentals great, vocals were great. Let's talk theme here though. So um, art by Ollie Museum. Aesthetically, this is great. This is 100% like matching the emotion that we get in this track and the lyrics. I feel like all of that was like on point with this for sure. Very passionate. And keeps it kind of simple, right? And like really kind of minimalist, and leaves a first time listener kind of either wanting more or wanting to like dive in to this sort of style here. Um, so yeah, the art is like really on point. So the overall theme here, right, is definitely something that because the track is titled "Pity Party Dubs," but as we read along here and we kind of like let this verse and like the delivery and the emotion kind of sit with us for a second, as I was reading along, I was like, yeah, this is definitely one of those like super personal situations that's like super therapeutic to write about, but at the same time a lot of people can relate to this kind of feeling that Wet Wet is letting out on this song here. Like it's totally relatable, but even if you can't relate to it, you definitely like understand it because Wet Wet was able to like convey it in such a simple way, but like really make it super enjoyable with the cadence and really like the pure emotion, because sometimes your writing doesn't have to be that crazy. um if you're delivering the emotion that it deserves, right? Because these are like powerful lyrics, and it's kind of like more on the emotional side of things. So like it's important to like actually like deliver that kind of emotion, you know what I mean? So I feel like Wet Wet did a really good job with that. And I love this theme because even if, you know, you can't relate to it, you definitely either understand it or know somebody that can relate to it. So you're like, damn, that's a fucking banger. And it's one of those like win-win tracks where like you write it, you record it, you put it out, and it feels actually good to put that shit out, right? Because it's like one of the most healthiest ways to like be therapeutic with art and music, is writing about emotional times and kind of emotional parts of your life and shit that you're feeling, right? Um, so a super win-win, and if people even relate to that, that's even better. So I love this. I think this is really well done. Really, really well done. Huge shout out to Wet Wet. Make sure you follow Wet Wet on SoundCloud. Wet Wet is 2 away from 570. And of course, make sure you follow Patterns on Twitter. They are literally 7 away from 320. So make sure you go follow Wet Wet on Twitter. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you haven't already. We are approaching 120 Subroonies on the main channel, so huge shout out to anybody that already has subbed to the channel. We see you. And if you haven't, we upload 2 times a week. Full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, and a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. So go show these artists and the channel some love, my friends. Okay, let's see here. Nothing but fucking bangers. Like, that was insane. That was, my lord. Okay, so we have a couple late ones down there, and we also have TDG coming up next. But we're about an hour and a half into the show. We have some audio submissions left, and then we have a couple of video submissions. So what we'll do right now is we'll take a quick commercial break because I have to go take a leak, and then we'll be right back with TDG. And huge shout out to anybody that is hanging out in the Music Mondays podcast chat. I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are chilling. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here live with the Music Mondays podcast, episode 110. I hope you're well. I hope you're chilling. Let's get right back into this. So we left off with Lil Wet Wet, and we are now hopping into TDG. TDG is quite the experimental hip hop artist. We've seen a couple different styles from TDG over the last few months. Some older tracks, some newer tracks. Lots of good stuff coming from TDG. So, with that said, TDG submitted a track titled Never Ends. Brought and performed by me, featuring YTN, a homie from Kenya. Okay. Let's pop this open a new tab. We got a feature on here. The art goes really crazy. The art goes really, really crazy. Alright, let's get into it. A year ago, so not brand new, but not exactly old. So let's hop into this. TDG Never Ends.
Take me to a place I never been. Tell me a story that never ends. Whoa. I just wanna be timeless, wanna be forever shining. Feet on the beach, we on an island. She on the side, feel my privates. We getting high, she call me pilot. Yeah. Water, need I can't find it. Whoa. Yeah, think I'm dying. Whoa. We're going down, but at least we're flying. Yeah. If I said I didn't see coming, I'd be lying. Yeah, life a breeze with a tweak of the climate. Yeah, I'm the same horizon. One of my eyes don't widen. No one to see it all, but I see the slightest. Sounds like question, will the sun be rising? Hardest fight it, just surviving. What it sounds, I never heard it.
And it's my time to get right. I've been down below if I get a chance to fight. I've been really rowdy, furious, dusty, we gon' fight. I hate that shit, yeah, she got my nice. Poppy, that's the shit that we are now. If you miss me in the hills, is where I'm at now. I've been training in the rain and I'll go 9 rounds. You've been selling walking, so go find a better route. Yeah, I'm coming straight out the projects. Me and Tila, we so high like a fucking rocket. I'm from the hills, I be in the fucking forest. I'm pulling up in the foreign like Lil Uzi. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go.
Take me to a place I never been. Tell me a story that never ends. Whoa. I just wanna be timeless, wanna be forever shining. Feet on the beach, we on an island. She on the side, feel my privates. We getting high, she call me pilot. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. So, wow, this instrumental, man. This instrumental definitely fucking. It definitely like is a whole nother level of TDG. To be honest with you. But with that said, let's break this down. So, we're gonna talk about 3 things here. We're talking about the instrumental, talk about vocals, talk about the overall theme. Never ends. You know, there's a couple of things I want to say about the theme as well. But let's start with the instrumental. So the instrumental here, wow. So the big like standout thing here is drums. Drums are like really stellar on this. And I actually clicked back when the song started. I was like, I need to make sure TDG did prod this. And TDG in fact did prod this beat. And I was like, damn, okay. Because the drums were just stellar on this. But before we dive into more of that, the mix was great, nothing clashing to overbearing. The mix was definitely cutting through nicely, for sure. But Shining Star, the instrumental, aside from the melody being pretty catchy, I love the drums on this. The drum selection and the drum patterns themselves were really nice. Simple but very effective. Like very, very effective. This is one of the more like well crafted TDG beats that I think we've reacted to on the show. Like this instrumental's really top tier from TDG, to be honest. So the instrumental's great. Let's talk vocals. Vocals. So we actually have a feature on this track that we'll talk a little bit about. But TDG kicks off this track, and we have a more earlier kind of TDG style because these days TDG has refined the style that you just heard a bit more. And this is a great like starting point to see like how far TDG has come. But with that said, the mix for this track again really solid. Everything cuts through nicely. Nothing's clashing to overbearing. I think vocals sit nicely as well when you consider the instrumental and things like that. Um, yeah. So the vocals are really on track for how much like TDG has progressed, to be honest with you. But the other thing I noticed about this track too was the writing. The writing was really interesting. The writing was very much like um slightly more on like the fantasy side, and it was like super descriptive, and you were like really able to like um picture yourself with what TDG was saying, and it gave the listener kind of a real easy like way to like be put in TDG's shoes. So this writing by TDG on this particular verse was A1, definitely. So I like the writing a lot. Definitely more in like the fantasy kind of style of punchlines and things like that. Slightly poetic. But YTN kind of brought a rougher, more, I wouldn't say aggressive element, but definitely slightly more attitude than we're used to with TDG. And I think it was a great addition for this track, right? Because the one thing you always want to consider when listening to a feature or getting a feature on your track, or, you know, you're a first time listener, you're like, you know, um, how is this person going to sound on my track? YTN definitely brought YTN's like own styles and elements, but when you consider like what the track is about, it's a nice like refresher, and YTN kind of brings everybody to like a different lane just for a verse, and then we have the TDG kind of hook come back in, and I think that was really nice. Like this is a perfect kind of feature outline. You know, no matter what kind of track you're doing or who you're with or things like that, as long as the feature comes in, does their own thing, but kind of stays on theme, it's always a win-win. And I think YTN really did that. Um, but in addition to that, I do feel like these two sound really good together. Um, Especially in this style of instrumental. You know, because we've heard a couple different styles from TDG as far as instrumentals go. But this one's more on like the alternative side of like slight trap, slight, you know, little plug influence here or there, but for the most part, it's definitely more fast paced than we're used to. And I think YTN and TDG had a lot of like really good chemistry going on here. So it was nice to hear what YTN was like able to do on this, for sure, for sure. Um, so vocals were great, and I like the structure as well. The structure definitely nailed it. Um, but let's talk theme here. Now, cover. I had some thoughts about this, but I kind of wanted to see like what the track sounded like first. But the cover is a great kind of collab style, as to where you have TDG, you have YTN, and it's super deep fried vaporwave style. Like totally reminds me of like early underground shit, but is super unique. Um, and is a rememberable cover for a collab like this, right? It's super definitive. And if this is a track that like hits for you, you're always gonna remember this cover. So I really like the like vintage kind of vapor style going on here, like a lot. So the cover was great, but the overall theme is definitely more on the slight like fantasy kind of vacation side of things. Like TDG does a really good job bringing us into TDG's world and really describing, you know, living forever and you know lasting forever and creating things that last forever, and it's kind of like being for life, and there's a lot of like things you could do with that punchline wise and lyric wise where that kind of um that kind of just can be expanded into so many things, and I think TDG did a really good job at bringing us along for this trip, to be honest with you, and really like escaping. This is definitely one of those tracks where you kind of like go into a different world for what 2 minutes 13 seconds. So you kind of like take a trip to like a different vibe here for a second. And I think Never Ends theme definitely is not only one that TDG is good at, because TDG does a really good job at like writing about anything, but this one in particular definitely had a more fantasy approach to it, or even dreamlike, you could say, dreamlike, ethereal, very like flashback like, and I think it was really well done, really well done. So with that said, huge shout out to TDG. Thank you so much for the submission, homie. Much motherfucking love. Make sure you follow TDG on SoundCloud. TDG is 2 away from 990 followers. And of course, make sure you follow TDG on Twitter. TDG is 4 away from 160 motherfucking followers. Make sure you follow TDG on Twitter as well. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And a huge shout out to everybody that's already subbed to the Music Mondays YouTube channel. Dropping likes, dropping comments. We see you. Thank you. I appreciate it, and the staff appreciates it. And if you haven't, make sure you subscribe. Like I said, we are approaching 120 subs. We upload 2 times a week, full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. So go show the channel and these artists some love. Let's fucking get it, baby. Let's go. So tonight has been a lot of like straight heat, like all the way through. Like a lot of like real heavy hitters, I'm not gonna lie. So this will be interesting. Up next we would have SLM again with another submission. So since we've already reacted to SLM on this show, if we have time later, we'll definitely wrap back around to this. But I would definitely be happy to react to this next week for sure. So if we have time, we'll definitely wrap back around to this visual, because this is Apartment Jam, so we definitely got to check this out for sure. But we definitely have a couple submissions to get to. So up next, the homie Lil Olipop. Now we've reacted to Lil Olipop I think a couple times on the show, at least 2 times. And Olipop definitely has a great alternative style. We've heard two separate styles from Olipop, so this could be a fine mix. We really don't know what to expect here. But they submitted a track titled "In the End It'll Be Who Gets Hurt, You or Me." In the end, should probably like capitalize these or something. Hold on. Let's go fucking go break this down. In the end, it'll be who gets hurt, you or me. Slowed version. In the end, it'll be who gets hurt, you or me. Like I kind of get it, but I feel like if you capitalize like the T and the E, it would definitely be more like visually attractive for sure. Cover's minimalistic, but I definitely like it. I feel like it's gonna fit the vibe perfectly for sure. It's definitely gonna fit the vibe perfectly. But this is actually the slowed version. So let's take a look here and see what we got. Lil Olipop. Let's get into it.
Right on the set, and we're rolling. So, why are you guys here to interview me? Should I know some of the questions before we start? Mama said it would be easy. She said life is hard. I think she need me. Why this bitch tryna text me? I just woke up, yeah, and I'm locked in. Babe, I'm focused, phone on TNT now. I can't text back, not good for each other now. Don't you get that? Chilling in my bedroom, smoking big gas, tryna chase my dreams, but they running real fast. Not 50 versus the world shit, and that's a mismatch. Not 50 winning every time. Shout out to Taliban, I'm 50 worldwide. I'm just tryna see the world shit. Swag too dope, like I'm finna steer girlfriend. BB with the jingles, say she like my shit. I
Smooth. I definitely agree, Devil Killer. I definitely agree. Very smooth. So this is the slowed version. I am slightly curious if there's a regular version. I'm curious as to why we got the slowed version and not the um. Yeah, see, this version we haven't reacted to yet. So we should probably react to that next week for sure. But so let's dive into the slowed version now. This will be interesting. So we're gonna talk about three things. We're gonna talk about the instrumental. We're talking about vocals. Talk about the overall theme of this little lollipop track. So, the instrumental again, kind of the slowed version of it. So it's like for what it is, it's definitely solid. Um, you know, not having like a reference to go off of is definitely gonna make this a little bit hard to react to because it's like this is the slowed version. Um, so yeah, for what the instrumental is, it's definitely solid. The mix is really good. The bass is still knocks. Nothing's kind of clashing too overbearing. Everything cuts through nicely, especially with vocals. Um, Probably the drums and the structure are a big thing here. I'm not gonna lie, the structure is great. Especially for being such a like laid back kind of chill instrumental. The structure does this a lot of justice for sure. So the instrumental is very solid, 100%. Let's talk of vocals here. Now, obviously slowed and kind of like pitched down. Or this could be the original mix for the vocals and just the beat is like slowed down. Like it could be a multitude of things, honestly. Um, but as far as vocals go, I feel like this is like the perfect it's like the perfect line of like how you'd want like a slowed version of your song to sound. Because I recently just did one of these for my artist and it came out exactly like this. And I feel like the slowed versions of this shit come out really solid if you just kind of tweak it right. And I feel like this one was tweaked like just right. So it'd go perfect in like, an interlude or like, in like the middle of a project where you just kind of like want to take a break from like, banger after banger after banger. This would be like a great kind of break off song and it kind of splits everything up for sure. Um, but writing solid on it as well. Again, I feel like the slowed version, um, you know, I would like to hear the other version for sure, 100%, 100%. Just to get a better grasp on the lyrics themselves. Um, but all in all, it definitely kept the like slowed version kind of staple going on, which you can always appreciate. Um, so yes, instrumental solid, vocals definitely solid. Let's talk theme here. Um, I kind of had a feeling this cover was gonna be perfect, and I was right. Again, it was like very simple, kind of like slightly like a minimalistic, but at the end of the day, like this cover like really did this justice, especially when you consider the other version kind of has like the white version of that. So I feel like it was a nice little switch up for sure. Um, but the aesthetics are perfect, 100%. But the overall theme is probably more expanded upon in the original version. This version is just like a an extension of that, right? So going in not hearing the original, the theme is definitely like probably less effective depending on like the delivery, right? Because you're always gonna have those like slowed version of vocals. So like the delivery, the emotion, and a lot of those things are like taken out of that. So yeah, yeah, this is very interesting. This is very very interesting. But Ollie kind of went in on the emotional aspect of things a little bit here, but there was a couple things that were sort of touched on, and I noticed that Ollie said in the comments, just made this today on some in my bedroom type shit. Yeah, so there was a couple of like punchlines that were relatable, but this is definitely like one of those tracks where you pick like a simple theme or phrase and you kind of like break it down and you really let your songwriting really like do the writing there. And I feel like Ollie definitely did a good job with this and not necessarily making like a freestyle track, but making a overall like simple theme and really like adding on to it for sure. So with that said, huge shout out to Lil Lollipop. Make sure you follow Ollie on SoundCloud. Ollie is literally 10 away from 500, a great milestone. And make sure you follow Ollie on Twitter. Ollie is approaching 1.2K on Twitter. Go show Ollie some love, my friends. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel. If you have not already, we are approaching 120 sub-earnings on the main channel. So, if you haven't, go sub. We upload 2 times a week, full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. And like I said, huge shout out to anybody who already has, man. Thank you. We see you dropping likes, comments, all that good stuff. We appreciate it. Here at Music Mondays. So, continuing on, my friends, let's get into it. Up next we have the homie Kale. And it's been a while since we've heard from Kale. Quite some months, if we're being honest. From something that was like from Kale, right? We've gotten some submissions from Spawn, the X cover that we did a couple weeks back, but nothing from Kale himself. So, with that said, let's see what Kale has for us this week. You know, like I said earlier, Kale's one of those producers where, you know, Kale does a really good job building up his platform and really just being a producer that treats himself like an artist and cares about their instrumentals and cares about their platform and really continues to push that kind of narrative. So I'm definitely excited to see what we have here. So we have a Kale track titled Glisten, and I think it is a collab between Grimy and Kale. So let's see what we got here. Kale, Glisten. Drums are great. Great outro. I love the amount of instrumentals tonight, man. Like, I'm gonna be honest, the amount of instrumentals tonight has been such a pleasure. I love to see producers actually giving a fuck about their sound and pushing instrumentals and actually just pushing out tracks that they enjoy, man. We need more of this shit. Shout out our producers, man. Seriously. So, let's break this down. Obviously, no vocals, so we're gonna talk about two things here. We're talking about the instrumental, and we're gonna talk about the overall theme of Glisten. So, let's talk mix for this instrumental, man. A stellar fucking mix. Everything is perfectly balanced. Nothing is clashing, not the drums, nothing's too overbearing, nothing's fucking leaking, it's perfect. This mix is really, really solid. Especially when it comes to how much is going on, right? Because we have quite a few drums in here, and the mells are really prominent. So, the overall mix for this is really good. Really, really good. So, with that said, the mel is great here. But the shining star is a tie between the structure and the drums. The drums really because like the mel is excellent, and this is a collab, right? So obviously somebody did the mel, somebody did the drums. I assume Kale did the drums, maybe. Just going out on a limb, possibly, but yeah, if not the structure, the drum selection here was perfect. But I'd say I don't know, sort of like I was talking about with Little Caesar's submission, structure is everything, and especially when you consider releasing instrumentals, right? You just want them to be enjoyable, and you want them to be able to be bumped like wherever, however, and this is definitely one of those, like for sure. The structure was just excellent, just fucking excellent. The drums were even crazier in the second half. The breakdown in the middle starts off hot, has a nice build up, and then the outro. Yeah, the structure, honestly, the more I break it down, the structure is excellent. The fucking structure takes the cake here for sure. Structure is A1. So, all in all, this is a great collab. This is definitely one of those instrumentals where you can tell it's a collab. Like, yeah, sure, you could probably cook this up by yourself, but it just has that collab kind of pizzazz that producers usually get when they work with another producer. It just has that special kind of uniqueness to it. It really does. So let's talk theme here. Now, the theme for Glisten. Let's talk aesthetics. Perfect. Fucking perfect. Especially if like you don't like have like a concrete like full idea for cover art, and you just kind of like have an image that you really want to use. This is definitely one of those cases as to where like you just freshen up an image like this, and it keeps the theme to it, right? And it really like makes the track unique. So again, if somebody fucks with this, they're gonna remember the cover 100%, and it totally has that effect for sure. But the overall theme, Glisten, definitely comes from, the melody. It definitely has this dreamlike, slight, almost like serenity, ethereal kind of feeling to it. And then the drums kind of balance it out, making it a bit more like hard knocking. But I do feel like Glisten was like a really nice name for this. Like a really, really nice name for this. Gave it a bit of personality, and it was really easy to tell like the peacefulness to it. For sure. 100%. So with that said, huge shout out to Kale. Thank you so much for the submission, my friend. Much motherfucking love. Make sure you follow Kale on SoundCloud. Kale is literally 8 away from 450. A great milestone. And of course, make sure you follow Kale on Twitter. Kale is 5 away from 650. 5 away from 650. Go show Kale some love, my friends. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And of course, subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're approaching 120 subaroonies. We upload 2 times a week. Full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. So go show these artists in the channel some love. And huge shout out to anybody that already has shown love to the channel. Thank you. We see you. Drop a like, drop comments, all that good stuff. I appreciate you, and the staff appreciates you. Let's get it, baby. Heavy Metaphors would be up next, but Heavy actually submitted really late. Just about after we close submissions. So if we do have enough time, we will wrap back around to Heavy Metaphors. But with that said, you also have 7 days to submit your tracks. Keep that in mind. Submissions go live Tuesday following the show. So if you're watching the show here live on a Monday, obviously submissions are closed. But they go live every Tuesday. So you have just about 6.5 days to get your submissions in. So just keep that in mind and look out for the tweet. Especially if you see it up on Instagram, it's definitely available on our Twitter. So just keep that in mind. But with that said, continuing on, we'll wrap back around to heavy if we have some time. Mac 2 times. Mac motherfucking 2 times. Let's get it, baby. You know, one of the most improved artists of 2022. And just a really, really great alternative hip hop, you know, trap style kind of artist. Like a really, really just great in the aspect that Mac doesn't let shit stop anything. Like Mac is always improving. Mac is always coming back with some new shit. It's always a good time when we have a Mac 2 times submission, man. Truly. So the Mac 2 times submitted. End of the story. Let's pop this open in a new Tabaroonie and let's see what we got here. I believe this is a okay, definitely a private track. Let's get it, baby. I like the art a lot. I believe this is the first time we've played some unreleased Mac 2 times. So, with that said, let's hop into this Mac 2 times End of the Story exclusive unreleased Music Mondays premiere. Let's go. This guitar is great.
Lucky one, you don't miss.
Right now I'm losing my hope. Another thing in my net you have stole. I was the one who was pouring the water, make sure we ain't sinking the boat. I thought I had the right person out of all the ones I could've chose. But now that I'm looking back at it, I was literally doing the most. So please tell me why I ain't had no help, but you say you don't want to control. And telling y'all this wasn't the same, I couldn't even say it was nobody else. Now I ain't gonna lie, you really had me in my feelings when you said you loved me. Now I ain't gonna lie, you really gave me butterflies whenever you touch me. Had me up in the sky whenever I see your teeth shine, waking up in the morning. Well, you had me so high just off your love whenever we wasn't forcing. I need to know why whenever it came to my heart you would try to extort me. I need to know why you cut off these pages, it wasn't the end of our story.
Wow. Okay.
Whenever it came to my heart, you would try to extort me. Why would you try to extort me? I need to know why. Whenever it came to my heart, you would try to extort me. Shorty really played me like a fool. Had me sitting there looking confused. After all of the shit that I did for us, you going to one from the two. You show me that bitches ain't shit and I can't trust nobody, I cannot see through. You show me that bitches ain't shit and I can't trust nobody. I used to stay to myself, cause everyone looked like a threat. Emotion something I ain't felt, and that's something I really regret. Fighting this shit on my own, so far I ain't giving up yet. But I really hate being alone, I'd be better if I had some help. Only road I don't know where to go, I'm looking like someone lost pet. All the blind my friends was telling me, the advice that I should've kept. I hate talking about this shit, every time I be getting upset. This music is really my therapy, cause it help when I'm trying to confess. Now I ain't gonna lie, you really had me in my feelings when you said you loved me. Now I ain't gonna lie, you really gave me butterflies whenever you touch me. Had me up in the sky whenever I see your teeth shine, waking up in the morning. So you had me so high just off your love whenever we wasn't forcing. I need to know why whenever it came to my heart you would try to extort me. I need to know why you cut off these pages, it wasn't the end of our story. It wasn't the end of our story. It wasn't the end of our story. I need to know why you cut off these pages, it wasn't the end of our story.
Damn. Fucking Mac. Holy shit. Mac always coming through with the feels, man. Always coming through with the feels. And I think, wow, this is like peak Mac 2 times, man. This is peak. Mac just keeps getting better and better. Like, that second verse really did it for me. Yeah, so much to discuss here. Alright, so let's break this down. We're talking about three things. We're talking about the instrumental. We're gonna talk about vocals, and we're gonna talk about the overall theme of End of the Story. So, the instrumental, 10 out of 10. Like, not only is it a great choice by Mac, but these two prods, Lucky, and this other prod really like completely like demolish this. Like, especially the mells. Like, the mells are like really, they just work so well together. They work so well together. Um so the melodies are everything in this, but the drums are like what puts it over the top for emotion. Um but even to take a step further, the mix is great. Everything sits really nicely when you consider vocals. Nothing's clashing to overbearing. The drums themselves, like the sound selection, really solid. Um, a nice emotional alternative instrumental, like for sure. So I like this choice for Mac, and kind of like a not a surprise kind of choice for sure. Something you'd expect um Mac to choose, 100%. So instrumental choice, excellent. Let's talk vocals here. Now, the mix itself is great. We're getting used to the Mac two times mix, and it's always nice and crisp. So that's one thing you can count on there. But the other part of it is, um, one thing that was like really great about these vocals is the build up, right? Because the first verse was very Mac, but it was the kind of emotional storytelling that we usually get from Mac two times. And then it kind of breaks down a little bit, and then we swoop back into the second verse. And the second verse is like so stacked with emotion, and Mac really like kind of lays it all on the line, like even further and like more than Mac usually does. So I feel like this second verse like put over the writing aspect of this to me, and um really made the writing the shining star 100%. I'd have to say like a close second though, when it comes to the vocals, is the delivery, because the delivery is just as emotional, but the writing is just like really really good in the second verse. Mac just has this like fine balance of like keeping the emotional bars, but at the same time, like um really like making it easy for people to not only relate but be in Mac two times' shoes. And that's just such a great writing skill to have. Like it really is. So the writing is one of the shining stars here for sure. So I love the instrumental choice. These two prods absolutely killed it. The vocals were really excellent. The writing has to be the shining star, especially the second verse. Structure is another great talking point. Um, so let's talk theme here. Aesthetically, a great theme. Kind of has that like story kind of aesthetic, right? Brings that like storybook kind of aesthetic, but like keeps that like I don't know. It gives me like a slight video game kind of like storybook aesthetic, and I like it a lot. And then a parental advisory, bottom right. Just a nice touch. You know what I mean? You can tell that this is a Mac two times cover for sure. Um, so I like the approach there a lot. So aesthetics on point. The overall theme. So end of the story is definitely something that, if you can't relate to it, you definitely understand it. Definitely another emotional ballad from Mac two times, but structured in a way as to where um we're fully getting like all of Mac two times, and we're really understanding like what this kind of music not only does for Mac, but just like does overall, right? It's a very like therapeutic kind of thing to do. And that's what music and art is. It's very important to keep those aspects of it, and making emotional music allows you to um cope in like such a healthy way, right? Because you're creating, you're letting feelings out, you're writing, you're delivering, you're recording, you're doing so many things that involve art but are so healthy. And end of the story, and a few other Mac two times kind of emotional ballads um are really odes to that, and it really like it really like double downs on the fact that music is like such a great therapeutic thing, and that's why so many people like lean towards this is because it's so healthy, and it's like a really good way to like get a lot of your thoughts out. You can write like crazy, you can perform like crazy, you can do shit like that, as to where um it's just super healthy than a lot of things out there, and it's just a really good way to go about it. And we hear Mac kind of talk a bit about that on this. So like, this is not only about a love story and a bit of, you know, us being in Mac's shoes, but also Mac explaining like, you know, the passion behind more emotional tracks like this. So well done. With that said, huge shout out to Mac 2 times. Thank you so much for the submission, my friend. Make sure you follow Mac 2 times on SoundCloud. Mac, he's literally 6 away from 30, man. 6 away. So go show Mac some love. And of course, make sure you follow Mac 2 times on Twitter. Mac is literally 10 away from 130 on there. So make sure you go show Mac some love on Twitter. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you have not already. We're approaching 120 subaroonies, so make sure you go sub to the channel. If you have not, we upload 2 times a week. Full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. And if you have been showing love, dropping likes, all that good stuff, huge shout out to you guys, and thank you very much. And we thank you here at the Music Mondays podcast. So, up next, we would have the homie Offspring, but Offspring actually has a visual for us. So we'll get through the rest of our audio submissions, and then we'll wrap back around to all of our media submissions. So hang tight, Offspring. We'll be wrapping back around to you shortly. Up next, we have the homie Skeletor Goat. Now, Skeletor Goat, I think we've reacted to here on the show like once or twice, but we haven't dove in like super deep. So I'm definitely excited to hop into this one for sure. From what I understand, Skeletor Goat definitely has a really solid alternative hip hop style, but who knows? We could be diving into something crazy. So let's find out what we got here. Drop Top featuring D Trey. This is definitely San Andreas, if I'm not fucking... Yeah, it is, okay. GTA San Andreas is a cover, and it's really aesthetic cover, too, so if you're gonna pick a cover like this, I feel like this was, like, the cover to pick. Okay, so let's get into this. Skeletor Goat, Drop Top, featuring D Trey.
What is Dream Team? What is Dream Team?
Bring your static to the city, blast your committee. Shout it to my gang and we get it real busy. Make your body have a set, sending 7 shots in succession. On your lesson, don't test the man who reached ascension. I'm on the move, militant with a true. Lord Skeletons, we out here sending a coup. In your time, and put your death on a loop. People wanna talk how they made it, they all fake. I don't think they deserve it, come in. I think your time here is wasted. Seeing all your bullshit till my eyes dilated. All the ego talking, get into your head. Circle all deleting light, cause I ain't friendly with the fed. Snakes around me, I gotta be careful instead. Arms around the corner, I gotta watch my step. Gotta watch my step. Semi-automatic, point at your chest.
Damn.
When you see me, don't speak. Glow like a camp light, damn life, don't sleep. Heavyweight champ fight, this is only
Let's go. That was fucking cooked. Very much comes in hot and leaves hot. That was excellent. That was excellent. Shout out D-Trey for hopping on. Blackbound for mastering, mixed by yours truly. Let's get it, baby. Okay. So let's break this one down. So yeah. We're gonna talk about three things here. We're gonna talk about the instrumental, we're gonna talk about vocals, and we're gonna talk about the overall theme of Drop Top. So, let's talk instrumental here. Now, instrumental totally brings that like fast-paced hip-hop vibe, but like brings a lot of like modern elements for sure. Mix is good. Nothing clashing too bad, nothing too overbearing. Everything's really cutting nicely. It adds a bit of grime to it as well. So this mix is overall solid when you consider the instrumental. The melody's probably the shining star here. Definitely super catchy, and very memorable. But the hard hitting drums are definitely a close second. So yeah, the instrumental's really stellar. But let's talk vocals here. Now, Skeletor comes in fucking hot. And it is tagged funk. Definitely brings us a slight funk vibe as well. But it's like super bouncy. Like this verse is like really bouncy, and I love it for that. The mix is good as well. Nothing clashing too overbearing there. I feel like it sits pretty well on the instrumental. It definitely has a bit of grime to it, but I feel like that was like left in on purpose. It definitely hits just right. For sure. So definitely interesting. So I would have to say flow and cadence are probably the shining star here for me. I feel like Skeletor really comes in nicely on this. And you pair that with the delivery here, you get a nice scope of like what Skeletor is working with. Like, especially if you're like a first time listener, this is a great track to listen to. If you've never heard of Skeletor, this is like, okay, like you kind of get like what vibe you're gonna get from Skeletor. You're like, wow, all right, bet. So flow and cadence here are a big thing, probably shining star for me. Delivery, like I said, is a close second. Writing is really stellar. Really just a good showcase of writing, to be honest. So let's talk the feature D-Trey. Of course, we've never been exposed to D-Trey, and we've never heard these two work together as far as the show goes. And D-Trey really brings another element of aggression to this, and I think that's a really solid addition. Like I feel like this much aggression is like super balancing, because D-Trey comes in hot, but Skeletor comes in hot. But I feel like, we go back to the sort of feature conversation that we were talking about earlier, where we were talking about how features kind of like should stay on theme, but they bring their own kind of sound element, and D-Trey really comes in and does his own thing here. Like this is an artist that really comes in and just fucking slams this beat, like completely fucking slams it, but it adds on to what Skeletor was doing previously, right? And it doesn't take away anything. I feel like this is exactly like where you'd want a feature to fit in, because D-Trey just comes in, kills it, and dips out, and I think that's like a really great way to like end off this kind of track, like 100%. So Skeletor definitely flow and cadence for sure. Really all in all, I'd say the structure and the way that everything is laid out here, and how these two flowed on this instrumental, really puts this over the top. A really good duo, to be honest. So instrumental solid, vocals very solid. Let's talk theme here now. Much like I said at the start, relatively simple cover, but does this track justice. Especially like if you're gonna use a cover like this, like I'm glad it was this one, right? It's like aesthetically pleasing. It kind of like has that whole like familiar factor to it, but it's like cover worthy. So like it's a fine balance, you know? It really is a fine balance. So the cover's great. And it definitely brings that like GTA San Andreas vibe for sure, especially with the melody. Oh my god, the melody is like very GTA like for sure. Brings that like boom bap classical vibe a little bit, you know, but like way more alternative than that. A bit more darker. Um so yeah, aesthetics on point. Let's talk overall theme, drop top. So again, relatively simple theme, but two artists really pushing their writing skills and really like writing the best they can off of a simple phrase, a simple theme, and really pushing that bar. And I feel like both Skeletor and D-Trey did a really good job at taking a simple phrase and theme and just kind of like pushing that envelope. And I think this is really well done. You know what I mean? A really great cover song, if you will. You know, somebody comes off on the street, they're like, "Yo, you make music? Show me a song." This would be a really great song to show them. You know what I mean? Just kind of like, "Oh yeah, here." You know, so well done, well fucking done, my friends. So with that said, huge shout out to Skeletor Goat. Make sure you follow Skeletor on SoundCloud. Skeletor is literally 8 followers away from 600, so that's a great milestone. Go show Skeletor some love on SoundCloud. And of course, make sure you follow Skeletor on Twitter. Skeletor is 5 away from 880, so make sure you go show Skeletor some love. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. Make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you have not already. We are approaching 120 subaroonies. And huge shout out to everybody that already has subbed to the channel, dropping likes, dropping comments. We appreciate it here on the show. So we got Troy coming in with the hard pop vibes there. That was excellent. Like some earlier Troy, right? Because, as we all know, Troy's later tracks definitely um tend to have a lot more variety, but this came out in 2019, so it's definitely something we're going to keep in consideration when we talk about this track. But with that said, let's break this down. So we're gonna talk about two things. No vocals here. We're gonna talk about the instrumental, and we're gonna talk about the overall theme of "I Could Party That" Part 2. So, man. So one thing right off the rip, I want to say, the mix is solid. Nothing clashing, too overbearing. The drums are nice. Everything's kind of chilling. Everything's very balanced. Everything's kind of doing its thing. The mix is solid. So, with that said, I will say probably the melody has got to be the shining star here. Definitely takes a big lead, especially in the later half of this track. The drums kind of give it enough bounce, but the melody is definitely very memorable. And again, it's earlier Troy, so it's like it pales in comparison to, like, what Troy um you know normally puts out now, especially structure wise, because the structure is definitely slightly more repetitive. But again, earlier Troy, a lot of prods kind of get into that habit of making like those like more repetitive structures, because even myself definitely ran into that issue for sure. But with that said, definitely the mells are playing a big part here, 100%. um so yeah, the instrumental very solid, bringing some good like pop electro vibes, but in a slightly more like alternative dance style, which I like. Troy's been a guru of the kind of like house party like dance, alternative pop style. So Troy's definitely got like the DJ vibes on lock, 100%. Which I like. It's solid. Um, so the instrumental, excellent. Let's talk theme here. I could party that part too. So the cover, definitely have some more like earlier Troy cover art, right? Like we've seen like the Bitmoji covers. We've seen like the earlier kind of like styles of Troy. Troy's style definitely has expanded. Um, you know, throughout the more recent tracks, but early on it definitely had a common theme, right? And they always have this like real kind of like simplistic, like a minimalistic style, and this is definitely in addition to that. An earlier Troy cover for sure. Um so the overall theme though, I Can Party That Part 2, I believe we have reacted to I Can Party to That. And if it is the track that I'm thinking of, I Can Party to That Part 2 is definitely um you know, doing it for me as a sequel. You know what I mean? We get the dance party house vibes here. We get the, slight alternative pop vibes here. So, like, I Can Party That Part 2. Troy's definitely bringing the DJ vibes here, upbeat, chill. Makes you just kind of like, you could totally, like, sneak this in a DJ playlist at a party and nobody would blink an eye. Facts. Facts. Especially if you're, like, already, like, teetering on that, like, house vibe, for sure you could like sneak this in there and you'd be good to go. So I Could Party That Part 2. Definitely solid when it comes to the theme, 100%. So with that said, huge shout out to Troy Van Dusen. Make sure you follow Troy on Spotify, and of course make sure you follow Troy on Twitter. Troy is literally 10 away from 810 followers, so make sure you go show Troy some motherfucking love. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. So, make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you have not already. We are approaching 120 subbaroonies. So, huge shout out to anybody that already has subbed to the channel. And if you haven't, we upload 2 times a week. Full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, and a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. Alrighty, my friends. Let's continue on. So up next we would have Matt Rocks, but Matt also submitted after we closed submissions. So if we have some time, we'll wrap back around to Matt and Heavy, who I believe submitted late. So just as a reminder, submissions do close the day of the show. So just keep that in mind, my friends. So up next we have the homie Surge. It's been a while since I don't think we reacted to Surge last week, or if we did, it's been a fucking fast week. Seriously. But Surge has this really great alternative style. You know, more on the cloud, ethereal, kind of dark, you know, darker hip hop sort of style. But Surge submitted Runaway with the Vita. Here's a breakcore instrumental song. It differs from my usual submissions. Okay. Let's take a look here. Runaway with the Vita. Samples intro. Okay. Couple samples in there. All right, bet. 3 days ago. Let's hop into it. Surge Runaway with the Vita. Curious. Good drop. This some pie. Let's go, man. Let's fucking go. Yeah, I must say I agree with Ryuki a lot there. This was definitely great. Especially it being on the more instrumental side, because like Surge mentioned, this is definitely differs from the usual Surge instrumental. So let's dive right into this. Yeah, let's go. So obviously no vocals here, so we're gonna talk about the instrumental and we're gonna talk about the overall theme of Runaway with the Vita. Wow. So let's talk instrumental. Now, the thing with this that's like overwhelmingly obvious here is the mix. The mix is really good for not only a typical like breakcore kind of intense drum track, but just all the sounds combined are really in unison, and that's the number one thing that you want to make sure of in obviously any track, but for the most part, like a track like this with this much going on, you got to make sure it has a solid, well-rounded mix, and I feel like Surge did a really good job with that. The mix is nice here, definitely. You know, the drums play such a big part here, but I feel like the mel was so memorable. It really definitely is very memorable. I feel like the mel was everything here. It really was, really was. But another talking point, probably the structure, if we're being honest. Again, as much as of a like as of a like loop this is like really well structured. Kind of is always changing, keeping it fresh. You're kind of like um the palette is always refreshed here, so I feel like this is a really great instrumental track, especially again for this fashion, you know. But the mel's a really big part here. So the mel definitely got to be the shining star for me, 100%. I feel like the melody was great, and also the samples are listed in the description, which I think is really cool. Um, but so this instrumental very solid, much like Serge said, definitely differs from the usual submission and instrumental. But nonetheless, very very solid. I like this direction definitely. Um, let's talk theme here. Now we have expanded on this cover from Serge quite a few times, right? You know, between the logo and the official album art from all the projects that Serge has been putting out. This is definitely the most progressed one we've seen, and I really like the direction of this a lot. Um it definitely is so typical to like Serge's experimental style. I feel like this was like chef's kiss. Like it was very peak for this kind of style. Sonically that is. So the art definitely does this justice, like 100%. So aesthetics perfect. Now Runaway with the Vita definitely like fast pace, like high intense, like totally super bouncy. Runaway with the Vita is definitely a perfect title. It just keeps up the fast pace and like it feels like that. Like it genuinely feels fast paced. So that's the thing with this is very specific. But nonetheless, really well done. So with that said, huge shout out to Serge. Thank you so much for the submission, my friend. Much motherfucking love. Make sure you follow Serge on SoundCloud. Literally 6 away from 80 followers. That is a great milestone. And of course, make sure you follow Serge on Twitter. 5 away from 340. Go show Serge some love, my friends. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube free upload. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you have not already. We're approaching 120 subaroonies. We upload 2 times a week. Full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. And of course, if you already have subscribed to the channel, thank you. We see you dropping likes, dropping comments, all that good stuff, and we appreciate you here at Music Mondays. Thank you, my friends. So, I believe this next one is our last audio submission of the night because Nina Savage is not following Music Monday's own page. God damn it. Yeah, of course, as many of you know, we don't charge for submissions. We never have, we never will, even if we were to move on with a different type of format and things like that. Our free submissions will always stay the same. So, you know, the only thing that we do ask is that you're following Music Mondays on Twitter to not only help grow our community, but to pay respects to everybody else that does follow the community, does submit every week, and does wait to get their tracks reacted to and their submissions reacted to. So that's all we ask. So feel free, Nina Savage, to resubmit next week and drop us a follow, and we'll be happy to react to your submission here live on the show. But with that said, up next we have a very special artist by the name of Bloodcat. Now, Bloodcat literally had an insane 2022. One of the top alternative artists here on the Music Mondays podcast, bar none. You know, Bloodcat has had a really insane 2023 as well. I mean, we're heading into March, and we've heard nothing but 10 out of 10s. So it's kind of scary when Bloodcat submits now, because it's like, oh shit, what do we got? You know what I mean? So it's always very exciting. Always very exciting. But Bloodcat submitted a track titled Two Step Pussy. So, let's pop this open in a new tab and we'll check this out. 2 months ago. Damn, how the fuck have we not reacted to this? What the shit? Damn. What the... Okay, we totally, like, completely just missed this one. Okay. Really minimalistic cover art, but a 10 out of 10 cover. Like, I love this cover a lot. Keeps it simple, for sure. Lyrics and description. Style is original. Damn right it is. Lots of love. Yep. Lots of love in the comments. Let's go, baby. Okay. We definitely gotta check this out because this is one we have not reacted to here on the show. So I'm definitely excited. Bloodcat, Two Step Pussy.
Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Tip it to the bag and I'm about to take a use set. Snuck up on the fuck up on the wow. Snuck up on the fuck up on the wow. Make it mad what? Make it mad what? You gon' have to do the devil, do the bad what? I'ma leave you for the rest, you wanna bad one. Let me hit the bad one. No, no bad, some bad. You already saw about the game, what you think? If it ain't about me, if it ain't about it, you better watch your game, babe. Every time you see the cat, you can think I'm out of fame. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step.
Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step.
I'ma leave you for the rest, you wanna bad one. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Tip it to the bag and I'm about to take a huge set. Snuck up on the fuck up on the wow. Snuck up on the fuck up on the wow. Make it mad what? Make it mad what? You gon' have to do the devil, do the bad one. I'ma leave you for the rest, you wanna bad one. If it ain't about me, then it ain't a dang thing.
Man.
Waiting through the wall like a kayak. Never fuss up in a busy, better blow like a object. Niggas fucking up, you see the pussy as an object. Spit up on the pussy like a project. Wow.
Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step.
Leave you for the rest, you wanna bad one. Make it dance, make the pussy do a two-step. Tip it to the bag and I'm about to take a huge step. Snuck up on the fuck up on the wow. Snuck up on the fuck up on the wow. Make it mad what? Make it mad what? You gon' have to do the devil, do the bad one. I'ma leave you for the rest, you wanna bad one.
Come on. Hey. Are we serious right now? Wow. Hey, what'd that guy say? Hold on. Another 5-song game, you gonna blow up? I'm gonna keep going? Nah, like, holy shit. Wow. Wow. That was a full course meal. That was great. And, you know, so many really good talking points here. So we're gonna have to dive into this, like, right now. So we're gonna talk about three things. We're gonna talk about the instrumental, talk about vocals, talk about the overall theme of Two Step Pussy. So, the instrumental, Depot on the beat, not really a prod that we've heard Bloodcat work with, if at all. But wow, the bounce for this is like insane. This producer did a really, really good fucking job, especially like with the overall structure and the sound selection. It wasn't too much of a grimy sound that it took away from like the melody, right? Because the melody was super groovy. It like kept a nice vibe, but the drums knocked hard enough, but they weren't necessarily trap drums. They were very much hard knocking, but it kept up that pop vibe slightly. So this is a very interesting instrumental in itself, right? I feel like this instrumental alone is a really solid track. Like this instrumental is really well crafted. But nonetheless, a really great choice for Bloodcat. So I love this choice by Bloodcat, 100%. So the instrumental is definitely a 10 out of 10. Totally something you'd expect a Bloodcat to like eat up on, like for sure. But let's talk about the major point here. The vocals. Wow. So where do you even start, right? Let's talk the mix. The mix is great. Nothing clashing to overbearing at all. Everything very crisp, especially in terms of the instrumental and things like that. But you know, the vocal mix itself is definitely a different kind of style. Um, you know, I don't even want to say than we're used to because Bloodcat always bounces around. Bloodcat definitely is always like improving the few different styles that Bloodcat has expanded on, right? Whether it's pitching vocals, whether it's, raw vocals, whether it's like insanely pitched vocals or just regular Bloodcat style vocals. Bloodcat has done a really good job, bringing the variety. And I do feel like this is um another great style from Bloodcat, especially when it comes to a vocal mix. I feel like this sounds really solid. Really, really solid. This is like a perfect beat to do this kind of vocal mix on. Um so in that regard, when it comes to the mix, I really like it a lot. Um but as far as like the vocals themselves, um Bloodcat is got to be like one of the top hook writers in not only the Music Mondays community but the fucking underground, dude. Like this hook is crazy, and it's not even like necessarily like lyrically crazy. It's just like the delivery combined with like the attitude and the writing and like the swag of it all makes this hook like so much like it's so extravagant. And I feel like that's like a really good thing. Like that's an awesome, awesome fucking thing. Like Bloodcat has spent so much time crafting hooks and really just coming up with like really interesting styles when it comes to performing and delivering hooks. Like and like maybe it just comes to Bloodcat. Like maybe it's just kind of like, oh, I'm just chilling and it's not that big of a deal. But like when it gets put together like this, it really personifies it and it electrifies it almost. It brings it to life, because these hooks, you know, maybe you could write similar hooks, but delivering them in that fashion, um, it's super like only Bloodcat can do that. Like it's super original. Like that's where Bloodcat's kind of like key is like those hooks are like just so Bloodcat and so very much unique. Like so unique. Um, but on top of it though, the verses, with that said, like the verses, Bloodcat can write just as good of a verse. Like absolutely. Like without a doubt. But I feel like when you have such a massive hook coming in after it, the songwriting in general just deserves a lot of recognition. Just deserves a lot of recognition if I'm being honest. Like the songwriting is really insane here. And in the majority of the most recent Bloodcat tracks, a lot of the songwriting is fucking nuts. Um and then you pair it with the kind of delivery that you get here, it's like, are we serious right now? Like super unique, such a like it's super bouncy, but like it's also like the little things that do this justice. The structure, the middle verse, and how the hook is mixed, like just a slightly different mix like throughout the track and then the outro. Like the little things make this track so unique and so Bloodcat. Everything that a Bloodcat supporter would like is in this track. Everything, for sure, is in this one track. So it's very much one of those like whole package deals. Like you totally get it all here, 100%. So instrumental great, vocals great. Let's talk theme here. Two Step Pussy. So, I love the simple cover approach. It's kind of like one of those. Obviously, it's not like a crazy cover, but it does this track justice because it's Bloodcat and it keeps it very much personal. And it's very like iconic when you think of this track because you're gonna think of that cover. You know what I mean? So I like the minimalistic approach here a lot. So great aesthetics. But the overall theme of Two Step Pussy is relatively obvious, right? I mean, you kind of have this more intimate, real personal approach, but also it's made into a bop. It's like way alternative, like pop, way alternative trap. You kind of have like it just makes you bounce. And like the thing is like it's a super easy theme to get behind, but it just shows the Bloodcat's songwriting skill even more. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Like you really see through tracks like this, like how well Bloodcat can write a track because we have reacted to quite a few, right? We've reacted to some of the more harder tracks, the more emotional tracks, and this is again more on the more intimate side of things. where we kind of get like um sort of like a more alternative, like different vibe from Bloodcat, and we've heard these kinds of themes like again, time and time again, but I feel like the more simpler ones really show like how good of a writer Bloodcat is, to be honest. So, and then of course lyrics and description always make it like 10 times easier. You know what I mean? For anybody new, especially if you're a first time listener, this is just a must, So, well done. Well fucking done. Always a fan of Bloodcat reactions, man. It's always a pleasure to be able to react to some brand new Bloodcat, man. Especially 2 months ago, like brand new. But I'm surprised we haven't reacted to this. But regardless, with that said, a huge shout out to Bloodcat. Thank you so much for this submission, my friend. Much, 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 much motherfucking love. Make sure you follow Bloodcat on SoundCloud. Bloodcat is approaching 1.4K on SoundCloud. And of course, make sure you follow Cat Calls Fashion on Twitter. Cat Calls Fashion is a Bloodcat's a brand spanking new Twitter. So make sure you go show Cat Calls Fashion some love. 2 followers. So I'm sure they'll toss you a follow back. Just go show them some love. And of course, with that said, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload, my friends. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you have not already. We're approaching 120 subaroonies. Yeah, we upload 2 times a week. Full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, and a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. And if you've already subbed, you're dropping likes, dropping comments, all that good stuff. We see you, we appreciate you, and we thank you here at Music Mondays, my friends. Let's get it, chat. How the fuck are we? Devil Killer, see ya. Much love, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed your stay here at Music Mondays. But we have 1 submission left for the night, and it's the homie Offspring Mysterious, because we have concluded all of our audio, and we have our very first and I think only media submission for the night. And Offspring Mysterious is in the chat. Welcome, my friend. I hope you're well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Offspring submitted Music Art Nightmare, Who Shut Off the Lights. Now, this will be interesting because we've had several reactions to Music Art, and this one could be really, really crazy. So many of you know Offspring Mysterious, but if you don't, Offspring is one of the hardest working creatives in not only the Music Mondays community, but the overall underground community. Offspring works extremely hard when it comes to writing, instrumentals, visuals, things like that. And this is a new addition to Music Art. So let's hop right in. Offspring Mysterious, Music Art, Nightmare. That was actually nutty. That was actually fucking nutty. Okay, let's check out this description. Let's check out Nightmare as well. Because Nightmare was the audio used here. So we have much to discuss. 4 years ago, so definitely not some brand new Offspring, but we definitely got an Offspring classic here as well. I love how the cover art is always used as well. Like the fact that the cover art is always used is really nice. Is it a dream or is it a beautiful nightmare? See, the descriptions are always on point. Wow. Okay. So let's break this one down. Obviously, no cover, so we're not going to talk theme. We'll talk a little bit about theme, but we're going to talk instrumental and we're going to talk visual here. Now this is another addition to Music Art, which is Offspring's short visual series for many of Offspring's instrumental tracks. And this is a really interesting addition because I feel like this was a short, sweet, to the point addition and really kept true to like the song's feeling. And as far as the instrumental itself goes, Offspring has always done a really good job when it comes to instrumentals overall, but this track in particular, the mix is very, very, very solid. Nothing clashing too overbearing, and especially with like the fast-paced drums, I feel like this was excellent. But to add even further, the mel here was so prominent and definitely kept the like eerie, like ethereal horror kind of vibe. I do feel like that was like on point here for sure. So that's why the visual is like really important. But the mel was very much the shining star when it comes to the instrumental, 100%. So we have the more horror style of instrumental choice here by Offspring. So it's like, okay, how do we approach a visual like this? Like I said, short, sweet, and to the point. Totally brings that like, side character turning like super evil kind of vibe. And you match it with this instrumental. I feel like this is perfect. And all it took were, some slight editing and things like that. This one was like simple, but like very effective. I think that's why a lot of these are like really enjoyable to watch. And that's why I want Offspring to continue to create these, because these are like really good breakdowns and can almost like further a meaning to like an instrumental track. Like it really like furthers that kind of, meaning to titles and the overall feeling to an instrumental track. So Offspring really kind of brings like a whole different vibe, to be honest with you, and a whole different meaning to producing instrumentals. So I feel like you can tell a story and have your instrumental here at the same time, both telling a story. So I feel like they work in unison like really well, especially when you consider no vocals. So it's like, this is a great concept, like a really, really great concept. Let's fucking get it. Yeah, so I'm definitely excited to see what Offspring comes up with next. I know Offspring has been cooking in the fucking studio, so with that said, make sure you go subscribe to Offspring on YouTube. Offspring is 8 away from 110 subaroonies here on Offspring's channel. And of course, make sure you follow Offspring on Twitter. Offspring is 3 followers away from 840 on Twitter, so make sure you go show Offspring some love, my friends. And of course, every artist featured in today's episode and every episode will be linked in the description of the YouTube re-upload. And make sure you subscribe to the Music Mondays YouTube channel if you have not already. We're approaching 120 subaroonies. Make sure you go sub to the main channel if you have not already. We upload 2 times a week. Full podcast episodes, exclusive segments, and a whole lot of good stuff is available on the channel. And if you already have, thank you, my friends. Shout out to everybody that's been dropping likes, dropping comments, showing love to the channel already. Especially those of you that have been subbed. Thank you. And we appreciate it here at Music Mondays. And I appreciate it here at Music Mondays. I sure have to thank you for the love as always. Let's fucking go, Offspring. Thank you for your submission, my friend. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So let's fucking get it, chat. That was quite the episode. So with that said, that concludes episode 110 of the Music Mondays podcast. Huge shout out to anybody that has submitted tonight, tuned in, showed love. Huge shout out to SLM, Lil Caesar, Cole, Blank Thought, Lil Wet Wet, TDG, Olipop, Kale, Heavy, Mac 2 times, Offspring, Skeletor, Troy, Bloodcat, Surge, anybody else that lurked and chilled in the chat as well. I appreciate you and thank you, my friends. Huge shout out to you guys. Much, much, much motherfucking love. So, with that said, my friends, let's fucking go. Let's go. Quite the night. Filled with bangers. Filled with really, really enjoyable fucking submissions per usual. We'll be tweeting out the top 3 artists for episode 110 here shortly on our Twitter. And of course, now that we have the new format of tweeting out each submission, the top 3 is kind of more meaningful. So the top 3 artists in any order of each episode will get their submissions tweeted out on the Music Mondays homepage. So make sure you keep your submissions coming, because we'll be giving a little more extra promo to everybody that makes the top 3 each week. So with that said, submissions open for 110. No, today was 110. My lord. So submissions open for episode 111 of the Music Mondays podcast tomorrow. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at All Music Mondays. Make sure you follow us on all socials at All Music Mondays. Yes, a lot of really good content coming at the top of March this week. Expect us to fire off a whole lot of really good stuff, and expect a whole lot of really good stuff from the team as well. So huge shout out to the Music Monday staff as always. But with that said, be on the lookout for submissions tomorrow. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, like I said, at All Music Mondays. And huge shout out to everybody else that's lurking in the chat. I see you guys. Thank you. Everybody that came through in the chat as well. Mark, Ryuki, Devil Killer, Offspring. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, man. You can expect this episode on all audio platforms this Wednesday, and you can expect the YouTube edition this Saturday per usual. So I'm gonna go chill for a bit. I have to upload all this good stuff. I have to make sure we get all of our content done. So we'll see you guys next week for episode 111. It's been your boy Zombslays. It's been Music Mondays. Be safe. I love you. Take care, and we'll see you for episode 111 next week.